All right. Good evening, everybody. Um,
Hello.
I'd- Good evening. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Willington School Building Committee to order. It is January 26th, 2026, and it is 7:01 p.m. Um, Members in the room, we have Samantha Sperry, we have Adam Brewer, we have Adam Zalonis, and myself, James Marshall. Um, Online, I see Liliana Borelli, Phil Stevens. Can you guys both just unmute and individually say hi?
Good evening.
Hello. Can
Thank
you can
you.
you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Okay.
Um, and Peter, is that you, Peter Bacon?
Right here.
Wonderful. All right. We don't have Jeremy Brothers tonight. Because he was up all night plowing. So I'll entertain a motion to see Peter Bacon in Jeremy's spot.
So moved.
Second, seconded by Adam. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Peter. You are seated for tonight.
Okay.
Don't show this again.
There,
I can't see anybody talking.
yeah, hold on one second. So we are in a new location in the upstairs meeting room tonight with a dysfunctional mouse, so please bear with us as we try to make this work. One second, one second. All right. Thank you. All right. So first up on the agenda is community forum question and answer. Public participation is encouraged. Speakers are encouraged to utilize this opportunity for dialogue with the committee constructively and will be limited by appropriateness, staying on topic and maintaining decorum. Time will be limited to a maximum of 30 minutes in total at the start of the meeting. And as this is our first meeting with this more open forum format, just set the stage a little bit. This is really an opportunity, or intended as an opportunity, for this committee to have a dialogue with the public here in Willington. It's your opportunity to ask us questions. It's also, as we move along, it's going to be the committee's opportunity to feel out the public for information as well. On the agenda, you'll see I did include a discussion prompt. You can use the time however you see fit. I will ask you to stay on topic and we'll try to keep it to 2 minutes and to direct your questions to the chair. But really, I thought a good starting point here would be to try to understand what, for those attending, what your leading priorities and concerns might be related to the development of consolidated school project. So with that said, I'll open the floor. If you guys could just raise your hands and identify yourselves for the record. Lisa, I don't know if they have to be asked to unmute or whether they're able to unmute themselves.
We're able to unmute ourselves.
Say that again.
We can unmute ourselves.
Perfect, thank you. So anybody you'd like to speak? Zoom 2, I believe that's John Tian. Could you identify yourself?
Yes, hi, John Tehan, 26 Eldridge Mills Road. Thanks for doing all this. I know you guys are dedicating a lot of time to getting this done. I just wanted to be certain that the committee is going to look at for heating and air conditioning of our new building to look at a comparison between what heat pumps and solar could provide for us versus fossil fuels. My feeling is that fossil fuel use will saddle future taxpayers with large bills as fossil fuel prices historically go up about 4% a year. We're building a building here that's going to last at least 50 years, maybe longer. 50 years from now, the price of oil is going to be through the roof if it's even available. So I would really like the committee to examine fully both the cost of purchasing heat pumps and solar versus the cost of fossil fuel installations, and also consider the future costs to taxpayers when people are going to have to foot the bill for large oil or gas bills in a facility like this, that they might appreciate somebody in the past having decided to use the power of the sun instead of fossil fuels. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I guess this is the opportunity, so we're going to start commenting. I'll head us out. I think the reality is that type of exploration is more likely to hit us following the approval of a successful referendum when the actual project gets developed at greater length. But yes, I believe as a part of the project development leading up to that, that level from now until June, the importance here will be making sure that we have adequate budgets established that could allow for creative exploration of a variety of different system options for any selected project. Anybody else?
Yeah, I had, when going through the architectural, I had notes to look at the, mechanical systems, building exterior, roof, asset life, to see, we're doing this for a long-term municipal project. We should design the systems to be in line with that life of the building, not have something that's going to fail 15 years in, where it has a system life of 15 years. We want something to be long-term and, make sure the specs going out to the architectural firms that's detailed so they understand that sort of thing they're looking at.
So, John, point well taken, and yeah, this committee will definitely be exploring opportunities down the line. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Ralph Toulis.
No, good evening. I just wanted to get a few comments in because I have a meeting at 7:30. Ralph
Certainly.
Toulis, Village Hill Road in Willington. I reviewed the RFP. I was a little disappointed in how you mentioned the Hall School site, because the wording in the RFP was a new school on the Hall School site. There was never a mention of trying to reconfigure and add on to Hall School to accomplish the end goals of this committee. As a longtime resident of Willington and a taxpayer in Willington, I have strong feelings about trying to preserve the original 1922 building in some form. And I think it is worth considering. It is obviously a century-old building. There's absolutely no reason that building can last another century if we take a careful approach to this. And furthermore, as a taxpayer, I'm not looking for the cheapest solution. I'm willing to pay more to preserve a portion of Hall than start all over again on a new site somewhere else in town. So, and putting a new building next to Hall and demolishing Hall, I think is really going to impact the site with respect to field space. So, and that was a big concern with the previous school building committee. So I hope you all will consider that very carefully, look very carefully at that building and how it can be integrated into a new school that will accommodate pre-K through 8. And that's all I'm gonna say tonight.
Thanks, Phil. Just to follow up on that, that is the intent for this committee to explore all options for a consolidated pre-K through 8 school. That is not the only way to accomplish that while maintaining the existing building that, at least initially, I think, is through an addition and renovation of the existing hall building if we were to maintain that structure. Other opportunities will also be explored, but the purpose of this committee is to develop a consolidated preschool through grade 8 school. And we're going to look at a variety of options to achieve that, both on the existing hall site and not on the existing hall site as we progress. Again, I think it'll take time, but we're here to get as many options on the table for you all as possible.
Okay, well, again, the wording in the RFP implies new school on the Hall site. Doesn't really imply that an addition and reconfiguration is an option. Sorry, that's my read of the RFP, and I will shut up now.
Is it on in the project description? Is that the Article
Okay.
2, page
Bring it
3.
up.
Ralph?
I don't have that in front of me,
Okay.
Liliana, at the moment. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'm
I
trying
know
to
you-
prep for another meeting at the same time.
Okay.
So,
No worries. Thank you. Point taken, Ralph, and
thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you for your comments.
He may be, we're under the, page 3, under project description. Is that what he may be talking about, where it says, the Willington, Board of Education recommended building a consolidated preschool through K, which I understand, that's the goal, right? Consolidated. I'm thinking, I mean, I read, it's not, we're not just talking about a brand new school. That's not, right?
We're talking about a consolidated preschool through grade 8 school. That is the purpose of
And
our
taking,
charge.
and looking at various options. I think that's what people want to make sure that that's what we're gonna do.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
All right, let me see if we can get, if it's okay with you, Liliana, let me see if we
Yeah.
can get some more people.
sure.
MDC, Michelle, if you
Hi,
could.
it's Michelle Doucette Cunningham. I also can't change my name on the screen for some reason. It must be a preset maybe, but anyway, I have two different concerns. One is around communication. I think it's really essential if we are to pass a plan at referendum that the citizenry be kept informed regularly and extensively. And that is expensive to do. You all have your hands full trying to get the plan together. And I think you need to invest time and money in figuring out how you're going to keep everybody informed, whether it's on websites or postcards or blog posts. We don't have newspapers anymore, so we can't have depend on a reporter coming to your meetings and telling us what you've been saying. And yes, it's great that people can go online and watch these meetings in person, and I hope that many people do. But the proactive outreach to people with a message from all of you that is not a partisan message, that is just the facts and clear information about the finance and the costs, is what's going to make or break this project. So do not shortchange your communications expenses and hire somebody to do it right. Don't try and build the plan while you're also being communications professionals. So that's number one. Number two is, in all my years on the Board of Education, when we talked about this, many of the people we spoke with over the years said that their regret in building their school was that they did not think about the long term. They were trying to build it for the least possible money so they could pass it at referendum, and they shortchanged themselves in little ways, but in ways that mattered. Like they cut, storage space, or they cut out some of the things that were the right on that verge of nice to have and need to have, that you can't go back and add in closets easily. So I want you to pay attention and not, cut off your nose and spite your face trying to save a penny here or there, because we've got this, a great reimbursement rate. You should take advantage of it to the best of your ability. But, I'll give a concrete example. If it cost a little bit more to make the final building easily expandable, that would be a great investment, so that in the future, 50 years from now, we could expand the building without having to do a whole nother building. And sometimes that just takes a little bit of investment up front. So don't be afraid to invest a little up front to save the pain and irritation of the next future committee that's going to be looking at this in 50 or 100 years. I have lots of other thoughts, but I'll stop there.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate the comments. Yeah, we do have a review of our first mailer coming up later in the agenda. So hopefully that'll start to answer some of your concerns, but we'll develop that more once we have more than one meeting under our belt. And again, I hope that we can engage you guys in the community regularly throughout this process. And I think your second point it's gonna come over time. So,
Thanks.
well, thanks. Thank you.
Can I make a couple comments on that?
Absolutely.
For the first point, I agree, and I think that one thing that's been lacking so far, and I advocated for heavily on the Board of Education, is there's a lot of people in town who still don't even understand why we're here, and they think that we're trying to slip through the cracks and push a new school. I have yet to see any type of, I mean, granted, that's on Facebook, but you kind of have to go where the people are. I think I've been asking people that I know, and I think, I'll comment on the mailer when the mailer comes up. But community engagement has always been really difficult for this town, especially with like hot topics coming up. I think that it might be advantageous to gather a group of people to do some door knocking. I mean, door knocking is pretty heavily done during campaigning time, so I don't see why, you know, it might not be a good idea to maybe get a subcommittee to go out and try to meet people. I mean, certain people don't like solicitors, but it might be a nice way to meet people and go to the dump of the transfer station. But I agree that communication is gonna play a big role in this process. As for the second point, Michelle, it's my understanding that the design is gonna fall back on the education specifications that the BOE did heavily, no matter what project that we undergo. Even if whatever happens and it fails, we're gonna refer back to the ed specs to come up with projects for the two buildings that we have now. So I understand what you're saying, that and I feel like the points that you and John made are good, but it's kind of putting the cart before the horse, with like coming up with design wants and needs and comparisons of heat pumps and solars and this and that. And it could be something that we talk to the engineers about, or the architects, when we come to the design phase of like, okay, can we put this over here, that if we had to expand, we could, but I think most of that's gonna fall back on the ed specs.
Well, I think to our point, at least in this initial phase, making sure that the ed specs are in alignment.
Right.
With the ability to do, to run the school, essentially.
Right.
You know, for the size and to future-proof it to a degree. So I think there is a discussion to be had there.
Yeah, not to
For-
say that the ed specs can't be like. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth by saying this, but it could become like a potentially liquid,
Oh, it is on the agenda.
you know what I mean? Yeah, it could be a liquid document, and there's kind of been like a whole, process that we've had to do of like, this has to be done first, and this has to be done, and this and that, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I just wanted to make those couple comments. Yeah, so,
Anybody else?
I don't know if she has something else to say or. No, okay.
All right. Thank you. I don't see any other hands raised. Do we have anybody else? There's nobody in the room, so it's all online tonight. All right. With that said, I mean, from our perspective, do we want to float any feelers? Not to put you guys on the spot, but you know, this is kind of a challenging meeting because we're obviously don't have you tonight. So I think again, to the extent that we can, I'm really hoping that we can continue to engage. And I'm hoping with the mailers and communication that this becomes a more robust discussion as our meetings advance. So hearing no further opportunities, we are going to move on after Adam says something.
Yes, so I was from a technical standpoint, I wanted to look at where we got the square footage definitions, how the state defines those. Not sure where I'll look for it. I've tried the reimbursement ratio of this legislation. And I wanted to look at the details of that and sort of see where we can provide some guidance to the architectural firm to maximize our reimbursement. You know, there's things you can do in terms of the configuration of the building to try to get square footage that's not counted versus counted, just the way it's calculated. So
Yeah, and that's precisely why I think we're trying to get as quickly as we can, or we have a discussion now tonight about getting both an OPM, which we released, and I'll give you an update on that shortly. But we're really hoping to onboard an architectural and engineering team as quickly as possible to assist in doing that evaluation, because they're the professionals that do this work with us here on a regular basis. We can definitely do what we can to set the stage for them and what our needs are as a committee.
Just so that they're aware of it, it's just, I'm sure they might be, some of them might be, that it's legislation based, not by the table, so.
Do we know when we are going to be soliciting an architect and engineering firm?
Let's hold that discussion until we get to that agenda item tonight, and we're good.
I have a random quick technicality question.
Sure.
So since we're doing the community forum Q&A in the beginning, are we not doing present to speak at the end of any meetings anymore?
So this, again, the hope is, or at least it's not on the agenda for tonight. The expectation is we want to get a robust kind of dialogue at the start of the meeting, because we have a lot to do. We've got to find a balance, I think, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, in allowing the opportunity on a regular basis for engagement with the community, but we're going to be here for hours
I'm just trying to make sure that I.
And again, we can switch it up as
Process of how it goes, and we can feel it out. And
we can
see.
feel it out as we go. This is our first meeting beyond the intro. We just got started a week and a half ago. So again, I'll ask personally for the community to give us, the space and the grace to iron this out and to figure out how this moves forward. We're here to serve you. So, all right.
Jim, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, sure, Phil. Welcome.
Can he just clarify what he was looking for square footage? I was confused by what he was looking for.
The way it's calculated, how they're calculating the square footage for reimbursement, where they're defining is this, we're talking certain mechanical, we're talking, covered area. I mean, say from a commercial standpoint, there's different ways of doing it, I just wasn't sure what in the municipal for this. I'm sure there's very specific language, and I wanted to see where the actual text is of that, firsthand.
So, just for clarity on that, if you're talking about language for our current reimbursement rate, that is in legislation. The square footage portion would not be in legislation. That is kind of mandated by Department of Administrative Services. So that's in their calculations, and I can share that information with you, how they calculate that information out. I can definitely share that.
So what I wanted to look at was the legislative reimbursement. There's wordage there for different levels of reimbursement based on certain components and things we have. And then then there's the square footage side, definitions and understanding that. So we can sort of see where the money's going and what we can do with it, try to maximize our opportunity.
Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah. Thank you.
Jim, may I? It's also tied in with our population numbers. Remember, we talked last week about the student population report, and I believe that largest number fits into the formula to determine how much we get reimbursed for, how much square footage.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. And it'll be based on a number of factors. So I think, Phil, what I'll do is we can share some of that information straight from the Department of Administrative Services website for the guidance on school construction regulations. And then it all factors into the total building area factors into that. And it's kind of our job in my opinion, it's our job with our consultants to work to maximize that opportunity.
Jim, one of the cleanest cleanest documents they have is the calculator. It's just a one-page document that you insert your information into it, and it tells you what you have for eligibility for the amount of square feet based upon the enrollment projection for the top 8 years. And then anything over that's where, Adam, it determines if there's reductions. The other piece that's in the special legislation that we have there that people are talking about getting into the 90s is those are extras. The preschool is extra. The special ed is extra. Those are things you'd have to apply for. But your base rate is in the 79 point whatever range at this point. It's in that document though.
Right. Down to business. All right, moving on. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. And we'll do this at the start of every regular meeting. So thank you. Next up on our list is approval of minutes for January 15th, 2026. Can I entertain a motion for approval?
No name is spoken.
My bad. Well, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 15th, 2026. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second.
I'll give that to Liliana because I heard it.
Okay.
All right, so discussion. Adam, did we spell your name wrong?
Yeah. So,
Let's spell your last name because I don't have a membership roster for this yet.
CALONIS.
CAL, and it's CIL. All right,
Oh, yeah, there's the A at the end. It's the I and the A should be flipped.
all right. CALONIS. We will correct that moving forward. Lisa, that's on me. I had actually corrected it because I have you in my phone for that. In that spell. My apologies. Any other comments? Online? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, let's do a roll call because we're hybrid. Lisa, can you do a roll call for us?
Sure. I'll start with Liliana.
Yes.
Let me pull up my list up, sure. Sorry about that. Let me scroll up real quick. Mr. Brewer,
Yes.
Ms. Grosjean. Ann. We'll come back.
Yes,
Ms.
yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Ross.
Nope, Miss Ross is
Nope.
no longer on the committee.
Oh,
But
I'm
Ms.
sorry.
Reese,
Thank you.
Sorry.
Take that right off. Mr. Zalonis
Yes.
and Mr. Bacon.
Yes.
All in favor, motion passed.
Well, you missed some. I'm a yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Thank you. You're at the top of the list.
And Samantha Sperry, who is the Board of
Thank you.
Ed designee in place of Brianna Ross. Who
Ms.
abstained.
Berry? She's abstained? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, minutes are approved, so just as a note, and I probably should have done this before Q&A, but welcome, Sam. Yeah, Samantha Sperry, Brianna Ross has resigned, her position as the Board of Ed, designee in the committee and named Samantha Sperry in her stead. So welcome, Sam, and thank you very much. And also Lisa, who is not here in person with us tonight, but Lisa is our official recording secretary moving forward. And you can tell by the quality of her minutes, we are lucky to have her. So thank you, Lisa. All right.
Hey, Jim.
All right. Yes, sir, Mike.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to let you know that I'm here. I, for some reason, can't change the screen name. So Galaxy S24 FE is me.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on. Next up, chair status report. He uses as an opportunity. There's been a lot of background work in getting this committee set up. So this is the opportunity for an update. First off, I just want to say thank you to the Selectman's office, the Superintendent's office, and everybody in the town office building for help getting this committee up and running so quickly and efficiently. There's a lot of setup that goes into getting even our website and our meetings posted. And a lot of that work has happened in a very short period of time, so thank you. The school building committee's web town page on the town website has been updated. Our calendar is now up there. The membership roster should be accurate. Mike, I have not heard further from you related to documents, being able to host our documents directly on the town site yet, but that is a work in progress.
Yes, that is a work in progress. We're just getting the right correlation between the previous accounts and the school accounts that are in the .org world, and then the Google document world, and then the .gov world. We're working with IT to make sure we do all the transitions properly. So there's still a little more to come on that, but very soon.
Yep, thank you very much. Also in the process, and we're dealing with Novus, we do not have access to these SPC of WillingtonCT.gov email address does exist. I do not have access to it yet. We do not have access to it yet. I have an appointment with Novus set up for tomorrow to work that through and make sure that we actually can get that email address posted. Yep.
Am I gonna need, because I know, excuse me, I listened to the meeting last time. I think Mike had mentioned that Microsoft makes you pay for each new license, which is correlated to each new email address. Since I'm on the Board of Ed, can I just use that, or is that gonna become a FOIA issue?
I believe your .org address should be fine, but we'll speak to that right now as well.
Don't wanna be double charged if I already have it.
Yep. No, that is an open question. So Novus, through Phil's assistance, and he's been working with Novus to determine how to get this set up. It is Novus's recommendation that the email account be accessed by a single user multi-factor authentication. It can be, there are several ways we can set this up, and I just don't know how that, I won't know until I have a chance to talk with him tomorrow. Whether we push every meeting, my preference would be for somebody to pull and compile and send out all correspondence that goes to that address to the full committee, rather than everybody being bombarded every time it hits, just so that things don't get lost in the shuffle. But we're still working that through, and can't do much until we have access physically to the email address. So, Mike, one question that did come up is recommendation that for security that everybody have either a .gov or an official town email account for just general security and FOIA compliance.
Yeah, where's the well, okay, so give me more information or tell me what your question is. I do know that we're well, okay, go ahead with what you're looking for and let's see if I can help resolve it.
Appreciate it. Not to spring it on you. Just the question is from a general security standpoint, do we have the ability, or should we have members not be using their personal email addresses and instead be using an officially sanctioned Willington something email account?
It is preferable that people use an official town account for a couple different reasons. I will clarify, there is a long-held concern that if you use your personal email for official business, then it somehow becomes all of your email becomes subject to FOIA. That is not true. Only what is specifically requested as public communication would be subject to the FOIA request. So they can't look at your other emails. However, it is better to have you in one of the town accounts. As to whether you can continue to use a .org school system related email versus a town one, I had made the assumption that either one of those is fine, but I'll certainly take guidance from Novus or Phil if we need to separate them. I don't think that's necessary, but I'm open.
Okay, I'm just asking a question, and to the point, I think we as a committee should be following whatever guidance the selectman's office kind of says is valid.
Right. And the thing I can say for sure is preferable to use a town email account. And part of that is because of the extra layers of security that are involved in that, IT and internet security and cybersecurity, I guess would be the right terminology. And And then we did just finally, over the last few days, get the 14 new licenses. And I think Shannon started sending out notifications over the last couple of days to let people know that their email has been activated and instructions on how to get set up. I think we are on the verge of having used up all those licenses already, so we're probably going to have to look at budgeting for some more. But that conversation was just around noontime today, so there hasn't been time to act on that yet.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
All right, so that I think is everything on the IT side. All meeting links for the season have been updated. They're on the town's calendar for the second and fourth Mondays of the month, all our regular meetings at any rate. That Zoom link will stay consistent, so it should be readily accessible, which is great. We can, of course, call special meetings in between as needed. But hopefully, everybody will be able to access these meetings effectively now, moving forward. All right, the only other thing I have on my brief update is the request. We moved at our last meeting to request from the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance the path towards supplemental funding. Through conversation with the Selectmen's office and the Board of Finance chair, it does look like Board of Finance will be entertaining that at their meeting this Thursday evening. I don't know what the date is, the 29th. And it does look like the recommended course of action from the business offices that comes from the school reserve fund that has been building up over the past few years. So that discussion will happen on Thursday. And we'll see where the Board of Finance takes it. Hopefully, given the urgency of the need, that it'll be entertained, but we'll have that discussion and then it'll have to go before the town and go through the whole process, but that is moving forward.
Hey, Jim, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
And I don't know if Mike knows this answer. Mike, does that have to come as a recommendation or a request from the Board of Education first?
I do not believe it has to. According to my conversations with Donna last week, it was sort of the standard process because it's set aside in capital money.
Okay.
Good question, Phil. Thank you. So yes, whatever the Board of Finances has to do with it, they'll make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen to then call a town meeting to authorize the funds from the town. So
just a little clarity on that also. The way
Sure.
I understand that tag on that funding that was made in the financial system was for school building project, and it was not tied to anything directly to the Board of Ed.
Yeah, I do believe that's the case. All right, thank you. So that's all I have for this week. There'll be plenty of more as we move along. I'll try to keep you guys updated as these conversations happen, or as things continue to get set up in our background.
Real quick, Jim, did you mention that the, what do you call it, a hyperlink on the agenda? Is that an active link so that if the agenda gets posted, people can just click on the link instead of like,
So the version that gets, yeah, so the version of the physical PDF that gets copied, I believe, is a stamped scan, so it's not a direct hyperlink, but if you go on the town's website, and click on the calendar hold for it, you can
That's the best way to do it.
Click here for Zoom.
click here, presume is right on there. So,
Okay. I know I've seen
it's
people
also in
like
the
it.
agenda center, that little television box right below each agenda item. You click on that, that brings up the Zoom for the meeting as well.
Okay,
So it should all be working. I did check it before we came in here, so it should be up here. And it should be as easy as people getting familiar with the new town website. You can still, of course, enter the meeting ID and password manually
okay.
into Zoom, but there are direct links from the website for both.
Yeah, I was able to access it through the link, the meeting, so.
So it is active. Thank you. All right. Next up, new business. So, let's go 5A, election of officers. We have a bit of a snow day, but we do have a quorum and can entertain all of this. Ultimately, we are going to need to have a vice chair to assist with this work. And then either a treasurer or a secretary as we start to do funding requests, in particular on the treasurer front. It would be great for somebody to take on the role of kind of documenting and managing the committee's expenditures. I'll pose the question to you all. Do we want to table this until our next meeting when we don't have as many absences, or do we want to entertain this now? Jeremy, Lisa, although Lisa's not a voting member, so it's just Jeremy. I don't know if he didn't reach out with interest in either of these positions directly, so. Let's do it. All right, so election officers, vice chair. Do we have any nominations for taking on the position of vice chair?
I'll nominate this Adam number 1.
Do we have do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Okay. Is there anybody else for the position of vice chair? All right, I'm gonna ask it 3 times like Brianna did when we did this last meeting. Any other nominations for vice chair? And 3rd time, any other nominations for vice chair? All right, hearing none. Adam has accepted. Do you want to say anything, Adam?
Not this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for accepting the nomination. Hearing no further discussion, can we get a roll call vote, Lisa? We're going to try this again. Do you accept Adam Brewer as vice chair of the school building committee?
Yes. Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
Miss Borelli,
Yes.
Mr. Brewer,
Yes.
Miss Grosjean, Ann,
Yes.
Miss Sperry,
Yes.
Mr. Zelonis,
Yes.
Mr. Bacon. Oh,
Yes.
he was seated. And I think I have everyone.
All right, that's unanimous. Welcome to the vice chair position, sir. All right, I added treasurer secretary on this list for the reasons I just mentioned. We will have expenditures. We already do have expenditures related to recording secretary. I think it's something we want to onboard. And we basically need somebody to take on the lead of making sure that we are, with the assistance of the business office, that we are encumbering and we have an accurate balance for the work of the committee. I don't know. Does anybody, do we have any nominations for the treasurer and secretary? I'm going to make it a joint position. Anybody? All right. Keep thinking about it, guys. Somebody's got to do it. We can.
What does it entail? Can you go over that a little more?
So initially we can make it what the role needs to be, but ideally it's somebody who can manage the finances of the committee. And by manage, I mean track, log, something what the last school building committee did. They did it through a finance subcommittee, but the reality is we just need to have a good record keeping process in place for committee expenditures. That's really. So ideally, somebody who's comfortable with numbers and spreadsheets.
I'm gonna say, what software?
So tell you what, why don't I,
Just doing like an Excel, like how crazy we don't, as needed.
accurate
To be
or
determined.
accurate as we, as transparent and accurate as we can be, because we want to make sure that we're being very open book for the town. Let me tell you what, why don't we table treasurer?
Jim, you can't see me, so I'm saying something.
Oh, hi. Oh, go
Hi.
ahead. Yeah, jump in. You can't see.
I don't know if this solves your problem. But it would be very easy for me just to get a printout from the business office every month or every meeting to share with the committee. It's not like the treasurer's approving any expenditures. The full committee does that.
Right.
So I could very easily get just the spreadsheet from Visions, which is the program. And it would just list out what your expenditures were, how much is encumbered, how much money you have left. I could easily do that for you. I don't want the title, but I could provide the report.
Yeah, and I guess that's why I was going to suggest tabling it so we could reach out to the business office and see what that looks like. And
It's
so that
pretty
I can
easy.
Yeah, that's
Pretty easy.
I know we have some transitions in the business office as well, so I want to make sure that this is going to run smoothly. So we'll do that. In the interim, think about it. I will try to get more detail and distribute it between now and our next meeting as to what options we have directly through the business office and what that looks like. Sound good?
Sure.
All right. All right. Wait a second. All right, new business item 5B, informational mailer review and finalization. I am not on Zoom, so I can't share. But that was distributed to you via email, Lisa, and I know Anne, you have provided some comment. Lisa's not on this meeting tonight. So Anne, are you still there? Yes, you're still there.
At the beginning, when we talked about having meetings and all of that, I thought it would be really important to include the link to get onto the meetings because I think that our residents would probably be more inclined to attend the meetings virtually. So in that first, I'm not sure exactly where it was on the flyer, but they talked about when the meetings were and that they were held in the town hall and all that. I think that might be a really good place to include an easy to get to link so people could find those quickly and easily to be able to attend the meetings.
Isn't it in the second page?
Bear with me 1 second. I want to make sure I'll open it and share so we can all see what we're talking about directly.
The YouTube's on the second page.
And it's YouTube. I think the other one's just the base.
The second box tells about where we can find the materials for the committee's work. And the third one talks about where we would find the recorded meetings. I'd really like to have a link where people could attend the meetings live.
They just have to go on the calendar. And
They'd have to go to the website and then go to the
Yes.
calendar.
Yeah.
Could we
So
say
you want-
that, Nick?
I
Hold
see,
on,
yeah.
Lisa, I just gave Lisa, I had a share request. You should see it.
Okay, I'm allowing to allow multiple presenters to share. Is that what
Thank
you
you.
want?
Yeah, I just need the ability to share my screen.
Okay, I can make you a co-host. Then you would be able to, then only you would be able to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, making you the host and then just swap me back over.
Okay, we'll do it.
Okay, you got it.
All right. I am now the host. Thank you. Give it a second.
You go. Okay.
All right. So, I had a bit of a back and forth with Lisa as she was working this up as well. So I will give a bit of a rundown. She did a great job kind of drafting this up. You guys are welcome to comment as you see fit, but it was really to give a rundown of why we're here, why the committee is, make people aware of the committee. So the front half of this is essentially describing why we're here, which is the increased reimbursement, that the school building committee was formed, and that community input is critical. This is a 2-page or front and back postcard type flyer. Back page gives direct links. So it tells us when what you're saying, Anne, is a link to the town website. So
yes. In that top box where we talk about when the meetings are being held, an easy way for people to get to that link to attend the meeting live.
So that is all accessible through the town website. I don't know if these are hyperlinks in this. They will be on the digital version, but if you access the school building committee website, the meeting should pop up. It should be on the calendar right on that page.
Yeah.
When it's accessed.
We just need to say that. Yeah, we just need to say that.
Okay, so maybe.
I just think it's an extra step, and I think I understand what you're saying, is if we just get the link on paper, then they can just type that into the computer rather than going to the town's website, you know what I mean? It's just what, for people that want easy.
You could have a couple small QR codes with the next three.
Or QR code's great.
Oh,
Yeah,
a
right.
QR code would be great.
Perfect.
A QR code would be perfect.
Mhm.
Like the next 3 meetings or something. Well,
That's not, yeah, so Lisa had QR codes were on her radar for this, so for both the the town webpage, the Willington Zoom, just so that people can get to the meeting recordings directly. It was my suggestion to add the hyperlinks in as well, just because not everybody wanted to be able to QR code it.
yeah.
Or for some of our population, they're not going to be able to access it that way. They're going to want to type in, you know, what they're comfortable with.
Does the Zoom link never change?
The Zoom link never changes, so I'm thinking we can put that up there
Wow.
for our regular meetings for this year.
No, I don't think we make it clear in that first box either that it is a virtual meeting in addition to a in-person meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't say you can attend virtually.
Bear with me, I have too many things open, I can't access any of my tools here.
I have a suggestion. If we said join us for an in-person or virtual school building committee meetings, or join us for not an in-person or virtual school building committee meetings.
We can just say meetings are hybrid and a community discussion and Q&A is held for the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, 'cause you don't want it to get
That's
too
good.
Keep it, I think we want to try to keep it to the point and concise, at least for this first mailer. It's really about getting the word out, driving people to these meetings. I will add one comment, Jeremy, related to me earlier today when he knew he wasn't going to be able to make it. He is concerned about the colors on this and whether or not blue and red is political party affiliated. And I see that point, so I think we might want to just update these, and I will relay that to Lisa when she's back in town tomorrow.
I agree. I have concerns that it just looks like another generic political flyer. Someone's like, oh, campaigning already, throw this away, and not even like stop to read it.
Yeah.
Another concern that I have is the second paragraph of the first. The front page, it says after a recent town vote, a school building committee was established, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if we should say emphasize a new school building committee was established, because again, I don't think that we have been very clear to the majority of the population that this is a new process.
Yeah, 2026.
Still. I think that optics are a big thing, especially this time around. and the coloring and the wording and letting people know, hey, there's a lot of speculation and there's a lot of gossip and hearsay that it's just the same old thing trying to slide it through fly-by-night operation. So I think the more that we can differentiate ourselves from that and be like, hey, this is a new process, this is what we're doing. And, you know, we do have it's because of this in the legislature, but I just really wanna try to drive that home if possible.
It's important.
So newly established.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah.
So I think we're missing one of the key points that some people are still, they're gonna fight it with, and that's the cost reduction consolidation factor. That well, the whole reason a long time ago is this was dominating the finance budget. You know, this portion, this school budget was a significant portion of the town budget, and that by doing this, consolidating the schools and getting the state over 80, potential higher than 80%, that we can significantly reduce our costs.
So
I don't know
how
how
do
to
I
say
do
that.
Well, I don't know whether it's important for this one. I agree it's a valid point. I don't think we've had the ability to prove that or even discuss it yet, you know.
It'll
But
come,
the
it'll
degree-
come during
I-
design schematics when people see the bigger picture. of-
Yeah, but I think they're gonna get irritated about them. I think they're gonna get preconceived notions out of them. I think we need to say that we're looking at optimizing or minimizing our operating costs, you know, reducing our operating costs versus the current state. Because if we don't say that, they're not gonna listen. They're not even
That's a
gonna
good
read it.
point.
What
They're not even gonna
about,
listen. You know, reduce operating costs, you know.
what about,
something.
and evaluating potential loan? Sorry, typing, thinking and speaking at the same time are not gonna be my strong suit here, but what about, how an application for a new pre-K through grade 8 school should be pursued? And evaluating the potential long-range budgetary
Saying it's way too.
impact. Like,
I think
It's- So just make it, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, consolidate our schools, reduce cost of maintenance and operation.
Yeah, emphasize the cost effectiveness of consolidating the two schools. That it's really cost effective.
Yes.
yeah, that's good
Yeah.
wording.
Cost effective in many different ways, right? Just the efficiency of whether it's a rehab building or it's a new
Yes.
building,
Yes.
brought up to today's standards. You know,
It's like if you have one husband and one wife and you have two households and you have two homes, you're gonna have more expenses if you have two houses. So you consolidate, you make it bigger, you're gonna have maybe less expenses. It depends on, and that's what we have to tell, that's what we're working on, is to cost effectiveness, and make things better.
I think it honestly needs to be near the top, you know,
Yeah.
consolidate our schools,
You need something eye-catching for someone
Yeah.
to say, wait a second, what is this? I'm gonna stop.
because they're just saying it's the same old stuff and they're just gonna toss it.
Right.
You
Yeah.
could say should be pursued to increase opportunities for cost effectiveness and efficiency.
Opportunity. I think we have to be very
Right, good.
direct with, like, this is why we're doing it. This is the whole point of it, is to make this work in a more cost effective way, not to burden the taxpayers more, but to, hopefully lessen the load by decreasing costs of running two schools.
Yeah, so like, as a consolidate our schools, for a cost effective, approach, or something, or the education.
can you guys, is that, how gets hold that on screen? After a recent town vote, a newly established I am hoping we can get this out. That's why I'm trying to edit on the fly
Yeah.
at some point.
It says the committee was established to develop school consolidation project options for consideration by the town, and and our purpose and our goal is, like you said, cost effective, in a cost effective manner.
That might be the easiest way to do it.
Our goal, you just say goal, build.
I think what a lot of the
What
public
was that?
doesn't understand is something has to happen with our
Yes.
buildings. Our buildings.
Consideration by the town.
See, and they need to be fixed. Or we build.
How does that, I mean, if we just insert in a cost-effective manner into that sentence, that location, that drive what you're,
Well, yeah, I think the key is though, it's, if we look at the capital costs and, you know, you're quite familiar with this, they, you know, looking at this, potential the future expenditures, it's tremendous compared to what we would have taken advantage of this reimbursement. We
Right.
have the opportunity to do it. And if we drag our feet, we don't get the right messaging, then people aren't gonna listen and they're just gonna say, well, I'm not paying for new taxes. It's, you're going to have more taxes having to renovate or to
Yes.
repair and maintain the existing buildings and operate, you know, keep two facilities. It just, I don't know how to say that in a concise manner, but I think that's,
well, I also don't think this initial flyer necessarily needs to relay every bit of information about a potential school project. I think it's a good point to drive efficiency, but this is real, in my mind, and you guys can tell me if you feel otherwise, this is really about getting people's attention about this committee and getting them to us.
I think
So
that's
that
how
they
you
can
do it.
follow along.
That's how you.
Right.
Reimbursement rate too. That is the major thing,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
everybody's thinking
Yeah, so.
60, $70 million spent, taxes are going through the roof, but at the same time, we have an opportunity to take, you know, this 80 to 93%, you know, reimbursement, which is huge. It's once in a lifetime. I think Phil or somebody said it in the last
Yeah.
meeting. You're not gonna get this opportunity again
Correct.
in this town for 50, 60, 100 years.
Yeah, I think the data and everything else that you're talking about, Adam, could be written on like a larger form document that could be at the dump, or if we do decide to do transfer station, or if we do decide to do, you know, more information later on where we can really get into like the nuts and bolts of everything, but
Yeah.
I agree that this first mailer should be attention grabbing to let people know, hey, this is new, this is what they're working on this time. And just to hopefully, you know, garnish some.
Yeah. I think someone's gonna read this though, and it's awfully, let's say, it's wordy, but it's a lot. You need to have, to get through engagement. Reason they voted down to the cost before, we all know this. So we have a reimbursement rate that we can use to reduce our operating costs and meet our ed specs. That's what it's gonna go down to. And that's what they care.
Could I make one more point? Where we moved the in a cost-effective manner, it makes it sound more like the school building committee is going to be cost-effective than than the result for the schools. Which, when we had it at the end, I felt that pertained more toward more efficiency in the schools.
Belong up there instead.
The one we had before should be pursued to provide opportunities for cost effectiveness and efficiency.
Yep. So that,
If that, yeah, that's my thought. Just a thought.
Or help prevent future tax increases. Or minimize
Wow.
future tax increases.
I don't want to go
also
there yet.
don't want
I
to
wouldn't
be
go
clear,
there
we're
yet,
not,
but-
no,
Yeah.
the committee needs to do the work first, like, and I think we need to get it out there, and I don't want to, I would really hesitate to
That's true.
to move forward on any of that until we've done that due diligence.
It's a good point.
So,
I do think we need some secondary messaging.
get a preference on either of those? Sam, since you got up close and personal.
Yeah, I can't see anything, especially with my glasses on.
So I'd just put a date where recent town vote, blah, blah, when was it? December, I don't remember the exact meeting was, but
December 8th, I think it was December 8th or December 9th.
I think it was the 9th, but.
yeah, you put that there, that establishes when it is.
Some said newly
This
established.
ain't newly established. It says on whatever, instead of after recent town vote on blah, blah, blah date, December.
25.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I worked so hard to change everything to 26, and now you're telling me I gotta go back to 25, Sam. Pretty good.
yeah, so, yeah, and instead of, you could just say on, instead of after recent school, you just say, school building.
Yeah, I'm still leaning towards the second one. In order to provide the cost effectiveness.
I agree, yeah,
Yeah.
that one, get rid of the red one, that is weird.
Do we have a preference on colors? I mean,
Black and white.
it's not.
What are the school colors?
Contrast.
Like these,
Well,
How about yellow
yellow and black.
for the D?
yellow and black,
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
think about.
yeah,
It's a good point.
all right.
Black with yellow words, yellow with black words.
Background
think
could be
yellow-
yellow because then the words would show up well.
Yeah, it would stand out. Yellow and black sounds good.
All right,
And did we use red for what's now navy, maybe, or keep it navy, or the blue?
all right, I think,
Black.
I think simple is probably
You can
easier.
just bold the other stuff.
We bold the other stuff,
Underline.
or yeah, all right. That should be a simple enough fix. Talked about at the link for the Zoom meeting, the QR codes for these, which I think.
So do we have that website yet? The email, I mean?
We will as of tomorrow.
Okay.
It is active and it probably.
Do we have
received-
access to it, I should say?
I just can't get access to it, so.
Okay.
Or at least nothing's pushing through to it for me. I did try to test it,
Hey, Jim,
but yeah,
the first page, do people think, I think when you talk about school building committee and getting people to pay attention right away, should that be the thing that's really large there and not to get involved?
I agree.
Good point.
I think the get involved is a little too much.
this thing that I just covered. You want to highlight that?
It's
So
up
the-
here.
I just think if you say school building committee, Willington School Building Committee, a lot larger,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
people know maybe to pay attention a little bit more because they know they put the associate dollar signs with it. I don't know. I just think
It's a good point.
Is that another like opportunity to write, there's a new Willington School Building Committee?
Yes, the new Willington School Building Committee wants you to get involved. Oh, you know what? Wants you to get involved.
Yeah.
How about that?
If
The
If we
new Willington School Building Committee wants you to get involved.
Yeah, I like that. It's
All right.
inviting.
the school building committee bold, get involved, a little smaller, less emphasized. Talked about colors. Talked about links. Anything else? On content, before we get into pricing. All right,
This is a good first one.
all right.
Good.
So Lisa also did. Stop sharing so that I can see what I have. Wait a second, I forgot to make. Lisa, I'm gonna make you a host again. I can find you.
I'm ready. Matt, you missed. Try clicking
Nope.
again. Someone else's.
I might have given somebody else, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm right above her. On my-
Yep, there it is. The problem is I can't unmake her a host.
She needs to make me the host now.
That is really unfortunate.
Reclaim.
Well, for all intents and purposes, we're gonna plow on. Now she would have to. All right. My apologies. So Lisa, we can't stop the recording, can we, unless we get that back? Is there any other way? Do you know any way of doing that?
I can't. I can request to record to my computer and then bring the stick into town offices, but the recording is going to their Zoom account.
Just ask her.
Let me-
Hey, Jim, just
Yeah, I
ask
was-
her. Hey, Jessica,
Jess-
can you make Jim, the town of Willington selectman, Jessica that's listening, they accidentally made you the host of the meeting. Can you transfer that by clicking the three dots next to your name, I believe, to transfer the host? If not, Jim, I'll log out and try and log back in with the Zoom account.
Thank you. All right, in the interim. We lost Adam.
What do you guys need me to click on?
Oh, thank you, Jessica.
I didn't realize that I got a request.
If you
got the
could,
power.
if you could please go to my name, Jim Marshall, and click the three dots to the right of my name in the participant list. And make me host.
Let's see.
Please and thank you.
Under host tools.
Nope, if you open up the participant list. Participants at the bottom,
Yep.
you should see my name on the list, Jim Marshall. If you highlight my name, there should be three dots to the right. If you click on that, you should be able to make me host.
Three dots are showing up on the bottom. Hold on. I got it now.
All right. Thank you
Make
for this.
host. All right, you got it back?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, Lisa, this is going to you now. I had you highlighted the last time, I swear.
Okay, I'm ready.
Oh. Big time.
There we go.
We're all set. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Don't give it back. All right, now that I can get back into this, so, Lisa Eaton had done some research with both the post office and the printer. So there were two quotes I included in this. The cost for printing enough postcards for every door direct mail is $294. And the postage for every door direct mail in total was $704.94. So it's going to be every mailer at these rates for every door direct. It's just under $1,000 for us to send that out.
There's $3,000.
There's 2,000 something. 3,000 is enough to cover it. It was a rough quote based on these numbers, but I think it's important we get this out. I think, quite frankly, half this community, if it's not we gotta try something. So I think mailers early are important. I would make a recommendation that we, move to approve a dollar amount a little higher than this, up to $1,200 to issue this mailer. Be happy to direct, I believe if we can, with the changes we discussed tonight, if we're happy with it, we can push this out. It would have to go out this week if we make it in time for our next meeting.
I think you're gonna know pretty quick too, how much, people are seeing it, because you might get more participation.
That's what I'm hoping. So I think we have to keep trying. So
Can Lisa send us like a final cut of the edits that we just made?
yeah, I'll ask her to pass around.
Like, yeah. Shoot this, or just like a deadline, this needs to be out by this, and we all.
Yes,
This.
so the only concern I have is making sure that, what I'd like to do is approve with the changes we discussed tonight, I think, so that then Lisa can provide a final draft, but I want to make sure that we approve that for any final catches and comments. Because I don't want to have, like, you can direct individual comments to Lisa following that, just to make sure that what we discussed here is reflected.
Okay.
Does that make sense to all? Sound like a good plan? Yeah, well, I'm not bringing it up now, but I can do this for unions. Again, we will distribute a final, but I think if that works for everybody, then we want to try to make a motion.
I'll
To
make a motion.
Yes.
Oh, she can do it.
Liliana.
No, no,
said- No, you took it. It's yours now.
So much
Yes.
conviction.
You want me to make a motion?
Yeah, if
Okay,
you wanna
so
try.
yeah, so I make a motion that we approve the changes on the mailers
And
and approve, the $1,200 budget.
up to 12, friendly
Up-
amendment, up to $100
Yes.
for every door direct mail.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
How many do we plan on doing? Do you think like 3, 4?
I think we want to do this at least monthly along the way by way of update, but we can
Okay.
decide. Let's see how effective it is on this first one.
Right. I think monthly makes sense. So this way gives us time to work on things and then be updated if we need to.
And the reality is
Thank you.
that's 3 more mailers between now and a referendum. Right,
Yeah.
so.
No, I think it's worth the money.
All right.
All right.
So, motioned and seconded. Lisa, do you want to try another roll call?
Sure, I'm sorry, I didn't catch the second. Who seconded?
Samantha Sperry.
Thank you. Okay, going back up. I'm getting there. Okay, starting from the bottom, Mr. Bacon,
Yes.
Mr. Zelonis,
Yes.
Miss Sperry,
Yes.
Miss Grosjean,
Yes.
Mr. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
and Miss Borelli.
Yes.
Passed unanimously.
What was it?
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. I will send the markups over to Lisa. I know she's traveling, but back tomorrow. And ask her to distribute a final round prior to release by the end of this week. So if she can get to it tomorrow, comments by Thursday, or pushing it out by Thursday, I think it's the hope. All right, thank you, everybody. Next up, item 5C, project development options, visioning and discussion. This is the first step. We don't necessarily need to do a deep dive here, but given some of the comments that present to speak, it's evident that I think we as a committee at least need to initially discuss what potential options for a consolidated pre-K through grade 8 school may be. And quite frankly, I'm hoping this is just brainstorming at this point, so we can identify what potential opportunities there are, what some opportunities and considerations there are for the options we identify. And ultimately, if not this meeting, but by next meeting, start to develop a list of action steps that we can address to start to really start to advance these projects or the thinking about these projects. So that we can say to whatever a architectural and engineering team and the OPM, once we get them on board, or these are the options that we see as the most likely for further development, help us get there, right? So with that end, just to start, we are developing a consolidated pre-K through grade 8 school, right? So any of our options need to be able to accommodate that. We know that center school site, we're not talking about that because that is not viable. We also have legislation that is related specifically towards the development of a consolidated school proposal. So option number one is the renovate to new, which is the in no particular order necessarily, but option number one, the first option we consider the renovate to new of the existing hall school building, which is some combination of an addition and substantial renovation of that facility to accommodate a consolidated pre-K to grade 8.
If I recall correctly, we weren't able to hit all the specs if we renovated that school and put an addition on it. I believe there were certain, I'll have to look back.
Yes, it depends on what you consider a renovation and addition. How much of it are you gonna knock down?
Well, who knows if you have to knock any of it down, but you have to add on, right? You have to add on for sure.
Yeah, it wouldn't be in the hall school as is.
Right.
It's hall school plus
Right.
substantial modification.
Correct.
And I think it's a matter of exploring how that educational program, and there's been some work previously, there are studies done through the Board of Ed that we could look at. But yes, it's an intervention, a substantial intervention at that existing.
And then the impacts to the day-to-day operations of, Bill and his staff running a school during, September through, June or July when school, gets out, you're gonna phase your construction. It's gonna be a longer project. That doesn't mean that's a bad thing, but there's just implications with renovating an old building and trying to maintain day-to-day operations for staff and for the students. So just something to think about.
So let's tackle them that way. Let's tackle them first, important, critical considerations, right? And then we'll look at, so one, it's the likelihood, the necessity to phase, so potential longer construction duration. Impact to student staff just during construction.
Right. You think about what you gotta think about too, when these construction workers are gonna need parking, there's gonna be lay down for materials. It's going to be super tight. Right? You think about just a big lay down area for construction materials, cranes, whatever else needs to be there, demo debris, dumpsters. It's gonna take away a lot of space on top of building out the new space. So just a lot of things to consider.
Yeah, the logistics of it.
Yep. There's also, these are 100-year-old buildings, there's also a degree of unknown. Meaning, we don't know what is concealed, what impacts of a substantial renovation may encounter along the way. There's the likelihood that we will need to have a better contingency in the budget for a project like this, rather than a straight up new construction.
I printed out the whole chart, which has the three design options in here.
The 2025. Yeah. That was just basically. Goody stuff in things. Where it was a later one, where it was 2025, I think, where they had from. Them, just the
firm that the Board of Ed had enlisted to help them vet opportunities.
Yeah. Progressive fields.
That was just from the conclusion project of the last, or the report from the last SBC, so I don't know if it is in there, but.
So opportunities on this one, obviously, and we can. There is a historic significance in the town for the hall site of the hall building. For the community.
I know that was a big contention last time because there was no
Option.
nobody knew what was gonna happen to it. People didn't know what was gonna happen with the Hall family, which I know that has changed. Bill had a meeting with the foundation, so that seems like that is has more answers for the town.
Do we have a, I guess, I think Mike was working on something. We have a,
We can ask him. Mike is on this call. Mike,
we have an update on that.
Yes, sir. I do
we
have an update.
Then
Yes.
hit us with it. Perfect.
So the language of the release of the, trying to find the right wording, basically the restrictions that were on the original deed that we've all been talking about for years now. We have, I believe, agreed upon language. It's been back and forth between the lawyers for the foundation and the lawyer from the town. And I believe it is now all agreed upon. It's just a matter of the final, I don't know, basically the final sort of spell check and dotting the I's and crossing the T's. I again had hoped to have it done. It would be in hand for tonight, so I could say that. But that will be part one of what is essentially a two-part agreement plan. And again, part one is essentially just releasing the restrictions that are on the current deed, which basically in summary says that we own the school, but if we choose to cease using it as a school, we return it to the Hall Foundation. Simplified version. So that this instrument will release that restriction. And then there are a couple of conditions that they would like agreed upon, which are essentially in trade for that release. And the majority of that would be in a separate instrument because it doesn't legally belong on the deed at that point. And that is still to be finalized. But at this point, there's no controversy that I'm aware of. So it's just a matter of getting through this sort of process of back and forth with the lawyers and all that.
So it's trending favorably, but it, the confirmation of ownership of the hall site is just the open concern prior to advancing a referendum. We are on the path towards.
Yes, and for clarity, we own the hall site. We own all the property. Some of it we own completely because it doesn't have this restriction. And some of it we own, including the building, with those restrictions or caveats or whatever you want to call it. And this instrument will release all of those restrictions, and the other instrument will dictate what we agree upon as the remaining conditions. Phil, have those been discussed publicly?
I believe so, but I think we've talked about it at the board of that meeting, but.
Yeah, I guess
Okay.
To the point of this committee, Mike, I think if there's anything that has an impact to the development of any potential project on All Sky, we'd want to know what those stipulations are, or would need to know what those stipulations are along the way.
They would, yes, and I'm sorry I don't have it in front of me, Phil. I don't know if you want to comment on it because you are correct. It was discussed at a Board of Ed meeting, so I don't know if you have it handy.
I don't have it in front of me, but can I speak to the whole thing, Mike? Is that easier?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So there was following the tour, which I offered, and they took me up on. They came back with basically a statement. They called me and said, "Here's what we're intending to do." I think they tried to stay out of the decision-making power last time and offered up this time. Basically, that quitclaim deed goes away. And the full ownership of that whole property and whole school goes to the town. The caveats are basically in naming rights, whether it stays as a park, whether it stays as a school. As long as the town owns it, the hall name will remain on that building or sites. That falls outside of the deed work that's happening right now. The other piece is that they have no issue at all what you do with that building at this point in time. They have said if you want to use it and do a reno addition, go for it. They have said if you want to tear it all down and build a new school on that whole school site, go for it. They are leaving that up to the committee and the townspeople. And basically what we've said is that, you know, obviously there would be some recognition of the philanthropic efforts of the Hall family and what they've provided this town. You know, if there's a new school or a renovation addition, that would be part of that process. I think that's basically the big gist of it, though.
I think there was one other item, Phil, that's probably critical for everyone to hear. And that was the portion of the sale price.
Oh, yes.
And
thank you.
The agreement that we would be looking to work out and get approved is that they have asked that with removing all the restrictions to the use of the property, taking down the school and all that, they did also ask for a consideration that if the town decided to sell the property, whether whole with the current building or whatever version, that 10% of the proceeds would go back to the Hall Foundation to continue their philanthropic efforts for the community, which they do very quietly and confidentially to help people in the community. But they feel that that's a reasonable trade for basically freeing up us to do whatever we want with the property and the building, is that if we were to turn it into money, basically, that 10% of that would go to continue their philanthropic efforts for the town.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, that's important to know as we get down the road and look at comprehensive, you know, project budgeting for any of these options.
Right. And I think as we get deeper into this conversation, I think a critical piece of some of these comparing the options will be specifically when we're talking about this piece of property where the Hall School is now, and the concerns we heard a lot of in the previous school building committee about what will we do with the old buildings. That should be part of this conversation, particularly in so much as, if my understanding is correct, but we'll need the professionals to tell us this. If we were to rebuild on the same property, like say, for example, a brand new building, but on that same property, my understanding, which should be proven out, is that the demolition of the existing Hall School could potentially be rolled into the project and be subject to the reimbursement. Whereas if we built on a new piece of property elsewhere, that would not be the case. So again, we need the professionals to tell us that what I'm saying is true, but I believe that's the case.
Also a good point. All right.
But it may be a wash, no? If we have to buy a new piece of property. And right?
Well, that would be a double whammy because you'd be paying
Right.
for the new property and doing the environmental assessments, and then you would have to pay for whatever you're going to do with the old Hall School once you move out of it.
True. And what's going to happen with Center School?
That's something that's contingent on us to develop what carrying costs or what alternate use costs or what demolition costs. And again, that'll be through sale, you know, or whatever. I think we have to identify some likely scenarios for that and some cost performance, you know, at some point, in some fashion.
Do we have any updates on new site potentials?
No, not yet, but let's.
So looking at the vision, I think
Let's stay on the Hall site and around.
Yeah. So in terms of the whole site, I think we have the most knowns right now because we know the site. You know what we have power wise. We know water. you know, for what we have to do with utilities. So we could advance, I guess, the development of that, I guess, the vision of that much, much farther than we can a potential new site because we have new site. Yeah, identified. Oh, so I think we can go a lot further on that in terms of potential options than. And
Yeah, I mean, there's potentially less site preparation, you know, I think some of the concerns with the new site, we're bringing in new, you know, three-phase service, water, sewer.
What if you have dirty dirt at whole school? What if we have geotech that's gotta happen before we can even think anything about that, right?
Correct.
we have any
Do
data.
we have ledge there? Do we have high water, right?
Some data.
I'll have to take back a look at it.
The other consideration as a concern for all site is it's undersized for lot area for what a school the size we're looking to build should be.
And related to that, if we did have the freedom to build something new somewhere else on the property, perhaps we could use the property in more creative ways to compensate for the undersize.
Yep,
I mean,
good point.
looking at, I mean, we didn't have a very high building. You're only talking 2-3 stories max.
That depends, that's
I mean, look at
unknown, right?
Well, I mean, it's unknown, but the QA, you know, the previous stuff, I was surprised that we didn't go higher, even if it's space restricted site, that we didn't go with a, you know, 4 or 5.
I wonder if that has a lot to do with utilizing part of the existing school and whatever the loads are on those foundations, right? So you can only go so high.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if there was a soil issue. I mean,
There could,
where I am, there's not a soil issue. It's pretty close, but I don't know.
Right.
The change, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure they got to that level
I
of
don't think they
granularity
did
with it. I think it was
geotech.
more trying to
Yeah.
fit program in existing space and how much do you need.
it's just something we gotta think about, right? Because if we go down that path.
Yeah.
And we run into unknowns, which James mentioned earlier, which happens in all historic invasions. There could be burdens.
So if we were able to start in a different area of the site, work there, and then,
All right,
yeah,
so that is option number 2. As far as I'm concerned, is utilizing the existing Hall School property to build a completely new school on the site. And then I think there's maybe 2 variants of this. One is demolishing the Hall building in its entirety, just having the site support a new school building. The other option is to do a selective partial demolition of Hall to maintain maybe the original, you know, facade, and we could explore opportunities for alternate use. You know, I think those are both variants that we need to start looking at.
Well, that variant there is decent too, because then we keep the school active. We have to think
Yes.
about the kids.
Yes,
and-
yes.
And in fact, having to go to day-to-day operations.
Yeah, I think the starting on a new part of the site, starts with disruption of logistics.
Yep.
Is gonna be far better than trying to build on, you know, we can build on if we wanna connect to it, or even you can, but we wanna try to keep the interaction as minimal as possible for minimize disruption.
So less disruption is a significant opportunity for that. We still have a similar concern as all of the concerns we had for the other options. Unknowns, lot size.
Jim,
Yes, sir.
also to that point that was just made, which is a very good point. Going back to what I was saying about what's applicable for reimbursement. Also, a question we should be discussing with the pros is swing space. I believe, and this memory may be wrong, but from the last school building committee, I think that swing space was not eligible for reimbursement. But again, let's have the pros confirm that, which would mean if we're going to renovate the existing Hall School, we would have to consider swing space budgeting as part of the overall package.
That's why I wanted to look at the exact language.
No, that's a good point, Mike. So that ideally, there are ways if we build a new building on the Hall site, that could be operational and could transition, would be the swing space in effect, but would also be part of the
Yes.
price and reimbursement.
Yes, exactly. If the two if those two premises that I've just shared with you are true, then building a completely separate building would allow you to, as you said, use the existing school as your swing space, and would also allow you to then remove the existing school afterwards, after you've moved to the new one, all within the reimbursable budget, if both those things I said are true.
I know Jeremy was supposed to be looking at this, but I guess if we're looking at the layout of hall, the school fields are to the left. To the left of that, is that property for sale that goes down?
I don't know the history on that.
That parcel right next, you know what I'm talking about right there?
Yeah, he's had a discussion with the land use. He doesn't have an update, or he wouldn't have had an update today. He's hoping to have one by our next meeting. I think exploration of adjacent properties, if they're in some conceivable avenue of in play, then we should be looking at that, exploring that.
Because that changes things.
Yeah, and if we can get functional additional acreage, that
Right, not wetlands.
yeah, not
But not lot ledge.
yeah. Maybe know that's a follow up.
Girl,
Hey.
got a scanner.
Yeah, we're gonna keep this not open to the public for now.
Hey, Jim,
Yes, sir, Phil.
one of the things that you just shared, and just as a reminder, is that there was definitely points where if you were going to build a new school on the Hall School site and not use the current building, and Mike was just talking about demolition, I do not believe that is reimbursable. That's a question we would want to make sure we understood. And then the second part of that is all of the drawings that were developed within for that specific site in the first go around, they barely squeezed on every item, and that was using the current school. You would have a very hard time keeping some of the Hall School, building a new school on that site and keeping a portion of that building. Space wise, because it's undersized, I'm not sure that would be feasible. I think that might be rolled out pretty quick with drawings, but because it was what made it work was the renovation addition. And that with that renovation addition, that's where it was very tight. It could work. But if you're going to do a new building on that site and leave a portion of that building standing, of the current building standing, I don't know how you would get all of your meet your ed specs.
Not really one of it.
That's what I say. I just don't understand why we are not going 4 stories or 5 stories high. I mean, if it's a PSI load on the soil, okay.
That can be fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Adam, it
There's
was
also functional,
I mean, there's ed spec implications, I understand, but it seemed, I don't know if they were limiting it for some specific reason, technically.
it's
so
the code. It's the elementary model where that needs access to all of the things on that main floor. That's one of the issues why we don't just move in there today. So having the nurse's office, the office, all of those unified arts classes all have to be on that main level, or you have to have your own. And Mike is, learned about this as well and can speak to this as well. But you have to have your own stairwells. It's that pre-K K1, I think, is it up to, Mike?
Yeah, so I've spent quite a bit of time talking about this with the state building inspector's office and the state fire marshal's office since the previous committee. And what it comes down to is building and fire code both require up through first grade to be at ground level or one level above. Let me not quote the exact because I don't have the book open in front of me, but basically up through second grade, there are restrictions on how far from the grade those students can be, especially if they're mixed with other grades. And the basic premise of all of it is that small children evacuate at a different speed than larger children, larger in like because of age, and can't move as quickly, and they get run over by the larger kids. So you could conceivably put a first grader on the fourth floor or maybe the third floor, whatever the number is. You could put them on higher floors if they are the only grade or lower on that floor. If there's any mixing, then you can no longer put them that much above the ground level. So, for example, one of the things we discussed briefly in the previous committee, and I did discuss with the state farmhouse office and the state building inspector's office, is if you set the building in the hill, can you leverage more than one level of exit discharge? In other words, you could have rear exits going out at the parking lot level right now, like they do. And then could you have one level up exits going out at essentially terraces on the hill coming up towards Route 32? The basic answer to that is yes, you can have more than one level of exit discharge, but they're not going to answer that till they see specific design. You know, what is the percentage of exits? How many square feet? And all that other stuff. So that is the biggest factor affecting keeping the school low and wide, which I agree is really concerned about using up ground space. My feeling always was we want less foundation, less roof, less ground coverage, and stack as much as we can.
The other consideration there is not only do their classrooms have to be at that low level, but also the gym, the cafeteria, all of the other rooms that they would use during the course of the day, I believe.
Right. So I just was concerned that the previous studies, we hadn't considered some of the, demo, I think the very last one they had when they were building a new facility on Hall, but most of the other ones were all integrated with it.
The prior committee was only looking at, the prior school building committee only looked at a new hall, new building and a new site and a reutilization of the hall building with a substantial addition. It didn't entertain, this is a new option is and that comes with the ability to not having the deed restrictions to the maintenance of the hall school building as a school.
Okay. So I think from a guidance standpoint for the architectural side of it, I think having optimizing building height, efficiency, and to minimize site footprint.
Yep.
Is good guidance.
All right. So renovate to new hall site, new building hall site, or we demo the existing building. That's option number 2. We talked about the concerns and the opportunities for that. New building hall site, keeping part of it for hall, keeping part of the existing building. Concerns Phil mentioned, just site area, not being able to have the outdoor athletic program and fit everything with an additional structure on site. There are, again, all of these same similar concerns related to unknowns. What we're getting into if we need a portion of that. There's also the cost to the town for renovating that building to a future use as a budgetary implication. I know that's a lot of, that goes into the carrying cost question as to, what does the next phase of that property look like if we maintain that building? There's got to be some renovation costs associated with putting that to some future use of the town because there is need to maintain.
I think though that is an option that should be presented.
I agree.
Well, there is significant community goodwill towards the hall.
Yep. So maintain some more historic significance of the existing school building, even if it's not for school use. All right. The only other option I know of is a new building on a new site. Which we'll call option. Well, if that was option 2A and 2B, this is option 3. So advantages of that is there's no phasing impact. Right? Because that can be constructed and moved into prior to doing anything with the existing, so there's no interruption with current classes. Meet all the specs. It's again, as you would with the new building on Hall site, you'd be able to purpose build
I think if you look back at the report, there's a few things that didn't meet spec, even if you were to build a new building on Hall site, because they just didn't have the square
Yeah.
footage. Or the acreage.
Yeah, that's what I think that. Having an additional.
Also have
Yeah.
space for expansion in the future.
Okay. Expansion. Sure.
And I do believe it was one of the cheaper options. From the last committees, I want to say it was around 63 million with that estimate and something like
It's
that.
not worth throwing around those
Yeah,
numbers at this
yeah,
point,
but-
because it's gonna be all revised.
Yeah.
Oh, it was cheaper. Facility.
Or for.
Potentially more affordable
On paper.
on paper, more affordable.
Do we know if the land is reimbursable? Is new land reimbursable?
I believe that would be you. That's a question I don't recall, actually. Phil, Mike, do you remember? I believe it would be.
I
but only
believe
within the,
post referendum, I believe that is the case.
yeah.
Site access.
So if we build a new school on a new site, the land and the building are both, will get reimbursed. Is that what I understand?
That is my understanding.
But
Okay.
Site access.
But any infrastructure on the roads or adjacent roadways would not be. Anything outside the property line is not subject to reimbursement. So if we're bringing in,
So you're bringing in water,
think.
power, sewer,
if we're bringing in service from
or are we doing sewer
2,000
outside?
feet away, I don't know. It would
Right,
be-
so we're bringing in, and then are we, do we have city water or are we just, we drill?
Well, no, we do up to
32.
like all. Yeah, in certain locations, it's not everywhere, so.
So
that
we
is a
may be
concern for
just
certain
bringing in
sites on
power and everything else could be
Yeah.
contained at the site.
Potentially.
You know,
So limitations are finding a site.
Logistical operation,
Yeah, I mean, site in town,
location.
site location is challenging.
Yeah, logistics of transportation,
Is
Yeah,
things are,
accessibility.
yes.
it does leave the burden of what to do entirely with both Hall School and Center School as potential future costs.
Yes, I mean, because we're gonna have to pay for that, to do something.
I don't know if we weren't using Hall, that we would really have to do anything. I mean, at the very least, we could sell it. I mean, in terms of what we as a town would need to do with the property if we weren't going to be using it.
Well, I mean, it is, if town receives ownership of the building, then it is a town asset that is gonna have, some degree of maintenance costs. We don't want this thing to sit,
wanna utilize it.
Want to utilize it, or we want to have it developed by others.
Yeah.
There are different things we need to at least kind of vet as to what those potential options may be, but they are a cost, I guess it's at this point in time.
Same
It's
with
an
center.
unknown cost, same with center. Centers, that's an option that's a concern with all of these options.
Just. We have a lot of site.
Yep.
Or, yeah. That's just.
You gotta speak up, I think.
We have to you have to do FERC, we have to, water, what kind of draw rates can we get for water? There's just a lot of things we need to do for the site, and I think time is gonna be hard to get that data.
That is a
Bring in
concern on my
power.
end. Yeah. Site logistics, site utilities, site
You're gonna have
infrastructure.
all those activities on durations in your schedule. You're gonna have clear in your land, you're gonna log it, you gotta clear it, you gotta put your access road in, you gotta put your power in. You gotta do your geotech work, right? So
So my big personal concern on this is the ability to have some degree of certainty on a potential new site between now and when we need that by referendum.
Very hard pressed.
So we can, we've already started this. Jeremy's kind of looking into potential site opportunities. It's something we need to have a sense of urgency on if it's going to be a viable option. In my experience in working with schools or, private schools looking for, potential school sites, it usually becomes a big hurdle. It's finding suitable sites is a challenge. And then clearing that efficiently and effectively tends to cause delay. So I think just need to be diligent about vetting early.
You gotta see what's available.
Yep. Yeah. So
As we go through these essentially 4 options, 1, 2A, 2B, 3.
Yep.
We're coming up pretty much just now, like the pros and cons. Just quick background things initially. Are we at any point going to kind of try to figure out what the appetite of the town is? Like Ralph had said, I mean, there might be a majority of people who are like, you know what, like we grew up with Hall, we don't want to see it turn into slumlord paradise over there. We don't want to see it, inundated with vines and whatever. Like, we don't mind spending a little bit more money to you know what I mean? Like, where we're gonna get the most buy-in from people, be like, hey, these are options, these are the pros and cons. This is kind of like, obviously, it takes a lot of work to put like hard and firm prices on each of those. I don't think that's realistic, but to kind of like gauge where we should spend most of our time.
Yeah.
Based on what people are willing to pay for and what people are gonna vote for.
yes.
You know what I mean?
I do. And the answer is yes, I think we have to. And I think that's part of that's part of the reason why I wanted to get this out for discussion early. Like, these are some of the considerations.
And then how are we going?
How are we going to implement that? How are we going to get that feedback from the community? But also making the community aware that we're looking at these and providing them opportunity at our next meeting, and the meeting after that, to say, oh, this is a horrible idea, or this is a really big concern. Yes, you mentioned that. That's a concern. Or I really think an opportunity, as Mr. Chula said earlier, that maintaining halls is a critical priority for residents and stuff. Like, that's, those are the things that we need feedback on. We can't get it if they don't have other options. So
How much of our charge is in saying, let's just say, for example, like you had said, we're supposed to kind of come up with ideas on how to use these other buildings. Well, we need fire departments in town, or new fire stations, I should say. Even a town office building, you know what I mean? Like, this building needs some more turning Hall into a community center, perhaps, that has a bunch of different things. How much of that is for us to say like, hey, this is an idea on how this building could be used, or maybe an emergency center could go into Hall?
So I think the short answer to that, Sam, is that it's on us and the work of this community to understand from a larger budgetary perspective on each of these options, how this project, the specifics of this project impact the town's budget operationally. I think that we need to understand what the direct impacts of each particular project option are to the budget and the potential mill rate, the potential long-term costs. So that the town at large, we're not developing, like, we're not responsible, as far as I'm concerned, in understanding the costs of a fire department project, but we need to allow the town to understand what the impact of this project is so that it can make decisions and understand how it fits into a comprehensive picture.
I think we need good, accurate estimates of our options. Once they're schematic, they'll get some schematics, you can start putting the estimates tools.
And then assistance on some of these secondary budgetary implications, like we need to have a good understanding of a rough order of magnitude costs of the renovation of the portion of Hall. What potential demolition costs are for each of those options. I think these are like one-off pieces that we can provide a series of, like, this is the project, here's the secondary considerations for the town from a budgetary perspective that we may need to look at for the town needs to consider. Hopefully that makes some semblance of sense, but I just want to make sure, like, the expectation is not that we're factoring in what the cost of renovating this are into our budgetary options, or what this building, for example, or what the cost of the fire station is.
Yeah,
Because it's beyond the scope of this committee.
But it does have an impact on their overall acceptance
Of the project, yes,
of the project.
it definitely has, an impact on the community's acceptance of this project and how it fits in the grand scheme, the larger picture, so.
I imagine a lot of people just want to see that there's a vision in mind of a plan for the town. You know what I mean? Kind of like, oh, well, but again, it's hard because it's like, well, all those separate projects, of course, come with separate referendums and whatever. It's not like we're saying this is a definitive thing, but people do want to know, like, all right, well, then what's gonna happen with this, or what's gonna happen with that, or it's all kind of like a bunch of things.
Yep.
Yeah, I
put
think
together.
center is, what happens to center, regardless of which way we go, is, you know, that we need a plan. Or at least some semblance of something.
Yes, we may not, we are in a short period of time, so we're not gonna have definitive answers on everything. But we can have
Town plans on utilizing this building for, something, whatever it could be, right? Like
Yeah,
a community center.
we can have potential renovation costs for,
Right.
like that's square foot.
We're just not gonna let the building rot, fall down.
All right, so the only other option I have on here is not really a project option, but I think it's an important counterpoint is if a new consolidated school project fails at referendum, what is this town looking at for costs for renovating schools? And renovating the schools.
That's option D.
4 or 5, well, it's not an option because they're not voting on it.
Just a comparison.
This is what happens if we don't get a consolidated school project. Here's the potential costs. And we have the advantage of the Board of Ed having worked on this for 2 or 3 years now at least.
Do nothing and pay this.
I think it's continuing, yeah, so it's understanding how the repair costs in some form or fashion, what that impact is for the community over time.
Capital.
So I'm not sure how we picture that yet, but I do think it's definitely a discussion point we need to have. It's not a project option, because that's not our charge, but it is a comparison. It's a comparison stating, if this doesn't pass, this is what this is the backup plan.
Yeah, I think the Board of Ed
So-
had, some type of, and everything's kind of blurring together, so forgive me, but I think that we did have some, reports done based on like, if we were to do projects through the CIP, it would be like $57 million or something crazy. But you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I
We had
do.
that information from.
It is, and I think there were 5 priority groups, and it's why
Yeah, like, how do we
it's
do
why.
this, and it was like, oh, well, if we start doing this, then this has to go to donuts.
Doing donuts in your parking lot.
Better not hit my truck.
Yeah. That was crazy. Sorry, I had
Yeah.
to watch that.
Yeah, we don't need to go into, I don't think it's a conversation we need to go do a deep dive.
Yeah, but yeah, we have.
But we have that, and I think it's
For the time.
Yeah, so I think, if they vote no on all their options, so it's like 0, continue as we are. These are our projected costs, expenditures.
I think it's important that people do know, and I mentioned it earlier, that something has to happen. The buildings are at their life, most of the mechanical systems, that they're at their life expectancy. They're going to fit.
Yeah, it's this, which is what we believe with this legislation may be the best, could be a prudent project of action. And if not this, then this happens, in some form or
Be
fashion.
prepared that we're gonna start, spending
Spending,
money on
correct.
replacing this and replacing that, and either way.
Something needs to happen.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah, these are the costs.
does anybody, so I think those are our primaries, and there may be tangents and little add-ons and,
I think those are good to start.
alternate number 1, 2, or 3, but does anybody have any other thoughts? In the interest of casting a wide net early and then refining later, so it's not the mess.
I think getting that data from the existing, do nothing operating costs and capital. Getting that, we have that data, we can do it and get that early, so when we get the architectural responses and things like that, we can layer that in and get that communication.
Our big thing on our mailer was just talking about, what did Liliana say, cost effectiveness or cost efficiency or whatever. And with anything, like even when you're thinking about fixing your old car, you're buying a new one. Okay, well, new car costs this much, my car needs this, and that, blah, 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 blah. And then who knows what's gonna go next once you start tinkering around with something. So I think that it is advantageous of us to provide people who are responsible voters, good stewards of their money that they're going to be spending. They want to see, hey, okay, a new school costs this. Fixing projects one by one, plus inflation, plus whatever is going to be this. Oh shoot, I didn't realize that. Okay, yeah, I guess it makes sense. You know what I mean? I think people want to see that data.
That goes back to burning fossil fuels. Somebody mentioned it earlier, or going to heat pump system. Right? Fossil fuels are a thing that happen. So you can have a lot of savings down the road, and they can project that. What it would take to, not burn fossil fuels every year. So yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, before I lose all semblance of meeting notes here. All right, so I think. Yeah, it's gonna go. Thank you, sir. All right, so I think that's a good start. I think our agenda item for next meeting will be to start developing action items and a work plan for the committee to start to come up with some of these. Come up with viable approaches to getting this information. So we'll keep that on. But in the interest of time and the fact that it's 9 o'clock, I want to, I think, advance the conversation here to the next item. Is that okay? Oh, and one last question, comment?
Jim, I just noticed we did not discuss ed specs. I don't know if you want to do that next time or.
We're gonna move on to that really quickly right now for a brief conversation. Moving on to item, I don't know what this is, 5D, educational specifications review. So the Board of Ed approved, and it's available, and it's been linked into both to the OPM RFQ, and will be linked into the A&E services RFQ. What those aspects are basically a descriptive summary of what the school building needs to do to meet the needs of the educational program, and also the spatial needs and that project. So if you haven't reviewed it, we're not going to do a deep dive on it now, but I did have a couple of questions for Phil, which is why I put it on the agenda. I would encourage everybody to read that document. So if you haven't already, but Phil, Phil, are you there still?
Yep.
Yes, thank you. So in reviewing, and Sam and Ann, please feel free to chime in. In reviewing those ed specs, when you guys approved them, they were not using the current enrollment study projection, correct? I think the NESDEC is linked in there, which shows a different enrollment capacity.
He's old.
I'm positive that's the case. I'm basically.
Yeah.
So the Prouda projections aren't included in that. It also makes reference to the Prouda, to the NESDEC highest capacity. So I think there may be an update to the ed specs that the Board of Ed needs to. I question whether there may be an update, and I'm going to ask you this now too, because those enrollment projections from Prouda and NESDEC are a little different. Does the educational program that is outlined in the space summary that's outlined in that, can that absorb, or does that accommodate the 519 students in the Proudah study? What was that
We
built on?
use our current numbers, Phil, when we were designing those ed specs. I believe Sam too, I believe we did.
No, we use
No?
the Proudah numbers. It's a good question, Jim. And I don't have a good answer for you.
Okay,
I think we'd have to ask.
ask. the Board of Ed.
DAS, we'd have
Yeah.
to ask. Yeah. Um, the challenge not knowing is if the distribution was even. So it's basically the elementary is the two sections in each grade level. And so if the numbers were evenly distributed, your question is could the ed spec
With the classroom, so with the number of classrooms we have, et cetera.
Right.
The ed spec for the ideal classroom, students per classroom count, and does that align? I think it's a question that we should ask, because as we get an AE team on board and they start to develop this, I want to make sure that we're developing something that is in line with your ed specs and that the enrollment numbers fit into that.
We
You don't need to
did
answer
have
now. Go ahead, Ed.
a couple members did have concerns that I'll speak for myself. I had some concerns that we did not have enough elementary classrooms. If we were to have 500 children, I don't think that we would. That's my thought. So I wouldn't mind taking another look at it just to be sure that we could accommodate that number.
So, Bill, I guess that's a question, and Sam and as our Board of Ed representative, I think that's a question. I did follow along with your discussions on Board of Ed, and I know, I know two things. One, at the time that you developed them, it was an 80%. We thought we were going to get 80% was the high end, and you were looking to be conservative with your program because space aligns with dollars, right? So I know you guys did a very deep dive with your consultant, and that you took a very critical look at your space needs. I guess what I'm wondering is, one, is the ed spec as you developed or as you approved in November or October, whenever that was, is that reflective of the enrollment projections we're looking at accommodating in the consolidated school? And two, does the Board of Ed have a list of spaces that they feel is there a wish list? Not saying, that's a horrible way of phrasing it because it's not a wish, but
Prioritization.
are there spaces that the Board of Ed feels could have been appropriate to implement the educational program of the town, but were reduced early on or removed from the program under the understanding of trying to be as efficient as possible? I guess what I'm wondering is are there spaces that you guys remove from that program that, if in an ideal world at 93% reimbursement, 96%, whatever it is, do you have a prioritized list of spaces you wish you had, or that would have the school function better, that we should have in our pocket? Not saying that we can accommodate it or that it's warranted, but it would be good to understand that, because we need to understand that this is going to be a project that is going to last, and that isn't going to be an addition.
Yeah, I have a comment on that, and Bill, maybe you remember, and Arthur probably knows, I don't think Michelle might be on, but I thought, unless I misunderstood, that when Tammy Nuccio went to fight for this new legislation for us, she had gone with Rusty's last report, which equated to a certain dollar value based on square footage. And I had thought that Tammy had said, because Tammy had a meeting with us at the Board of Ed, however many months ago, I have no concept of time right now. But, said basically like, here's your two options. I went and I kind of like told the state that this is the numbers that we were looking at monetarily wise, however you would say that. So it kind of seems like, I don't want to be like, oh, hey, the world's our oyster, we have
I'm not suggesting.
you know what I mean? But it kind of like feels like you're like, hey, what do you really want? And I know Michelle Cunningham was like, hey, we really want to make sure that we're building stuff, but I just don't want to get greedy, for lack of a better thing. I know that if we're gonna build something, we want it right, and there were some concerns, especially like even now with some of our class sizes, because class size seems to be a big factor in this town for parental concern. My concern is that it feels a little bit misleading if it was the case that I'm recalling it correctly, that Tammy went with this certain projected projects, or that was redundant, but you know what I'm trying to say is Tammy went and gave them this information. It was like, hey, we're looking at these projects, and she was like, as long as you're below this, I can get you this. Was that right, Phil? Is that ringing a bell, Phil or Ann? Or you guys don't know what I'm talking about?
I
No,
don't
I can
remember
answer it.
hearing a limit.
Yeah, so basically Tammy said she went to DAS with a square footage number, and that was based upon the number of students. That is what she's talking about. And no, Jim, this has not been updated, and it does have, this was approved prior to receiving the Prouda results. And to be honest, I would want to reach out to Tammy myself and ask her what she would think for an approach, because if you're going to go off of the 519, which is the number of students in the Dr. Prouda enrollment study, that's the high in the 8 years, then this ed spec does not match that. If you have classes, a grade level of 55 kids in this town, an elementary classroom of 26, we would get absolutely roasted on the Board of Ed side. So I would want to ask her how she was basing that square footage based upon a number of students. If there's a new ed spec and it says, if there's a new enrollment study, which there is, and it has a higher number, how would she like us to handle that too? And I think she would say, well, you have the data, the enrollment study says the number, you should use that. And then we would have to go back, Jim, and update the ed spec is the bottom line.
Yeah, I'm not, and I think the discussions Representative Nucci had were probably even prior to the NESDEC update. They were probably off the old school building committee report, correct? Because she had those initial discussions.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because they were basically the same number. They were very close.
I don't recall.
Yeah, it was NESDEC was very close to the last projection.
So that is going to be a potentially important discussion point as they develop these. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. At least initially, put it on your radar. I also
I appreciate that, Jim, because I think the middle school, based on their model, they need so many classrooms by subject area, but the concern is really the younger children that will be in a classroom with a certain class size. So I would be very excited to be able to revisit it. And I think that would be great.
Yeah, and I do want to be clear. I'm not saying we need to reinvent or reinterpret, but as part of this job and as part of the team that we on board, there does have to be some semblance. We do have to be able to justify, and there does have to be alignment with the program and the enrollment we're projecting and the enrollment we're utilizing for our reimbursement.
Yeah, we're like 100 off.
And I just want to make sure, again, because these are the questions. People are very focused on the enrollment projections. They were at the last school building committee. I think we need to have solid answers for that because they're going to come up again. The same questions are going to be asked. This needs to be I think it's a conversation with the Board of Ed, and the Board of Ed needs to be in alignment.
I agree, yeah, everything should match if everything's based off of this. Study, the ed section, yeah.
So to that end, Phil, can you, I don't know what your schedule is, but, if conversations with Tammy, I think, I'd like somebody beyond just the superintendent to be on that discussion to understand that legislation. And
Not the
also,
legislation.
well, yes, correct, what she went forward with and how the enrollment fits into that.
Well, you can ask her, Jim, if you want to reach out to her, go for it.
Well, you've had these conversations, so I'm wondering whether we set something up just to have that conversation, if she's willing to have it. I think the sooner, I don't know what conversation you and or Mike have had with Representative Nuccio in the intervening months, so.
Really, the what you're talking about was what was shared at the Board of Ed meeting. That is really what we're talking about. That's what Sam is referring to.
So I'm just saying, you mentioned you thought you needed a conversation with Ms. Nuccio was in order.
If we were going to look to redo the ed spec based upon a new number, I would want to make sure she was in the loop on that and understood the why and would support it. If she didn't, I think we would want to know the why of that too.
All right.
So if you want to be on that call with me, or you don't want me to do it, or you want somebody else to do it, that's fine. I think we know the question.
Could you reach out and just include both Adam and myself?
Yep.
Adam. Just so that we're in the loop. Are you okay with that? Yeah. All right.
Hey,
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm including the board chair in that conversation. I'm including, sorry, I should say the Board of Ed chair in that conversation.
That's fine. Yes.
yeah, on the ed specs, I was looking at the numbers for the 3K K classes, the size, the number of classes. It seems light to me based on the projections in the latest enrollment study. And if we have to have that on the first, on a certain level of floor that we need, make sure we have sufficient square footage to accommodate that, because if we don't, we're gonna have a problem operationally.
So I think those are the action steps. We have a conversation with Tammy and then see where that goes in the logistics of needing to revisit the ed spec based on the enrollment projections. Sound good? All right. In the interim, read them, understand them, and we'll take it from there. But this is the document that both the OPM and the architectural and engineering team will be utilizing to determine building size, to determine all this. So it needs to all work together. So we need to understand it, and we need to make sure it's reflective of what the actual need is.
Say to that, I was looking at the study here for the enrollment, the grades, and if you have pre-K at 25 and kindergarten at like 28, you go to the next year. Where are those kids coming from? I say we assume that everyone's not in the pre-K. Everyone's not in pre-K. I'm sure you're not going to get everyone in there, but half is pretty light in my opinion.
I don't particularly want to delve into a detail, because I'm not understanding your question either.
So I just said, I think if you have kids in pre-K, 25 kids, and then you have the next year, you have 54 in kindergarten. They're coming from somewhere.
Not everybody qualifies for pre-K.
Again, that's the question based on the reimbursement rate. Are we going to have an inclusive pre-K? If that's the case, then that needs to be the educational specs and the square footage accordingly.
So
Anyway,
no, I get it. I'm trying to figure out the best way to, so Phil, the ed specs, just to address Adam's question.
I got it. I understand.
Two pre-K.
Yeah, because I mean, that's increased reimbursement rate, but the study, the enrollment study isn't projecting that be, 100% pre-K or 90, whatever.
I mean, I can answer that question for you if you want, Adam. It does reflect that because it's the projection is 48 and it's 2 classrooms and it's an AM PM. So it's 12 times 4.
Okay,
And
so
it matches.
so do we get the reimbursement then for the 97% with a half a day pre-K? I mean, just, okay, I wasn't sure. I don't have that data because I still gotta look, find it. Okay.
Yep, and these are all questions and project development for any of these options, but good question regardless.
Jim, that's a very good point. When do we have access to the guidelines for the pre-K and the special ed? Because this, if we look at the guidelines for the pre-K, would that change the space
So
that's required?
the legislation is out there, and I think the professionals we onboard will help us evaluate
Excellent.
what the cost impacts are for each. So I don't want to get ahead of that until we have somebody that can
Right.
assist us.
We
professionally on
get
board.
the link to that so we can read it ahead of time.
Yes, I will share that legislation. I meant to do that. I might have mentioned it at the last meeting.
Is I offer at the moment.
Yeah, let me
Have to compare the specs.
send that legislation as a link. I'll even point you to the right pages. Because it's 200 something pages.
Yeah, I was looking for it. It's hard to.
All right. Okay. Can we move on to architectural RFQ? Excellent. All right. Old business, RFQP for architectural services, architectural engineering services. That's item 6A. I sent along a draft of this on Friday to everybody. It is structured as discussed as initially a feasibility study and grant application design services for a consolidated school. The reason behind that being that we don't know what project they're developing. And having them, their fees and costs are going to be largely driven by the type of project it is. They're going to be very different if it's an add, rent, or haul than would be a new. And there's no way to project that or ask them to provide 15 different pricing options. So the way this is structured, it's feasibility study, grant application assistance, and design assistance towards that grant application requirement from now until June 30th. With the option to resolicit, at the town's interest beyond that point for full design once we have a project approved by the voters, or to be a contract amendment, a continuation of services. The other portion of the pricing component on this, I did write in here, a request for a percent of construction costs or design fees for the project beyond referendum. Not necessarily as a definitive benchmark, but to give us an understanding of where they fall in that picture. Should we choose or elect to decide to negotiate new services beyond referendum? Does that kind of make sense in the way this is written out? All right. Again, the sooner we can onboard and get this through the solicitation and procurement process, the better. I have this structured similarly to the date spread in the OPM RFQ that was released. I think I have it set up that we'd have it posted a week from tomorrow, February 3rd. Questions a week and a half later. And proposals due by February 24th. At that point, we go through interviews and hopefully have somebody with a notice of award by early March. I will say this is aggressive. If I were responding to this, I'd want another week or two to develop the proposal. But I'd rather be aggressive. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? Because quite frankly, if we push another 2 weeks, we're not, we're late March.
Why don't we see what we get back for responses? We may get a couple requests for extension.
And that may be the case, so. I pushed this to February 3rd as the posting date to give us another opportunity if we had any big questions to review it at potentially a special meeting next week if we wanted. But also, I think it takes a couple of days for this, like, by way of update on the OPM services RFQ. That did get posted, it's on our town website, it made it to BidNet on the 23rd, so it is publicly posted. To our schedule that was contained, so it does take a couple of days, I think we were trying to post it a day early. But if we can move to approve to release this with any changes tonight, that would be advisable as well. I can update the dates. Does anybody have any comments or questions or thoughts?
Yes.
All right,
You know what's coming.
I do. Where you at?
Okay, so conceptual design.
Where are you for starters?
Page 5.
Okay.
So conceptual drawings, narratives, supporting documentation, establishment, blah, blah, blah. So we're talking like in terms of like it had mechanical systems, and you know, type mechanical systems, building exterior, roof, those sort of things, major systems like described detail. We talked EPDM roof, how many life, what's the projected life of this of their major components, because this will affect our costs. Then under cost estimating, in terms of total, we're trying to optimize the total cost of ownership, capital expenditure. So that should be in terms of their cost estimating when they're making their.
All right, hold on, let's take them one at a time. So what was the, on the roofing systems? So that question, I mean, that'll be subject for them to advise and assist us on related to what those sections are and carrying appropriate costs for systems.
So yeah, I just wanted to have details, to identify details of what they're proposing.
Yeah, that, I don't, so what do you, I guess what I'm wondering is what the ask is, because that is inherent, I think, in them developing these project options with us. Meaning it is there, we're asking a consultant to provide us with conceptual design options, narratives, and supporting documentation that implies all of the detail and scoping necessary to develop a project budget for grant application. Okay, there'll be there, so narratives typically mean description of systems, major materials, major systems, your type of roofing at this initial level, and that may change when we get into design.
Okay. So yeah,
That sort of stuff is all,
I just
is
want-
all in there as a part of that package.
Want them to have that in terms of energy systems, you know, mechanical energy systems, you know, life of those systems, what's the target design?
All right, narrative, because that should be in the narrative, or I can
But I just want to
specifically
be
call that out.
explicit, you know, because sometimes when you get RFP back, they're light on details.
And expected life expectancies and anticipated life expectancies. All right. Check. What else? Next.
The optimize in terms of the cost estimate, optimizing the total cost of ownership of the facility. So, you know, if we have to replace the roof 3 times versus once or none in 75 years, you know what I'm saying?
Most roofs are 30 years, right? Most, I mean, depending on what you go, it goes slate roof could be 100-year warranty.
You say a metal roof is pitch is 75, 8 years versus 15 if you're lucky, or you know, platinum rate.
So
Yeah, should be a 30-year warranty from a manufacturer.
Yeah, but are they getting into the nitty gritty or are they just?
So-
like an average, like,
that-
hey, this is.
so
That
what
would affect the cost.
So what I'm saying, what I'm going to suggest on most of this type of question, Adam, is that that level of detail is something that progresses throughout the design process. From a feasibility, they just need to make sure that industry standards for cost for comparable construction, like new school construction, that the value budget is appropriate for what industry norms are. Understanding that this is an initial, that it's an initial pass. It's the first pass that then we're gonna have lots of input, as the project develops, because they're gonna have to provide, we can add, that's when we ask all these questions, when we get to a specific project, is what evaluation of systems have we had between, have you considered EPDM? Oh, we're gonna propose TPO because this is what we like, you know, these.
Right. So I just wanted this, that they provide, that they're, I understand there's an expectation to provide those details in with a eye for optimizing the total cost of ownership. Again, that's where
I just gotta say that we gotta be dumping a lot on them for this short period of time. They may pass on.
Yeah.
These guys aren't sitting around not busy. Most of these firms are probably busy.
I'm not saying that they need to provide details per se of that, but there's an expectation that they will in the project.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That will be, and it is a guidance that we're looking at total cost of ownership, but we're not looking at a 20-year commercial building that we can, sell, lease to somebody else.
Right.
If their warehouse is too small.
Works on options, efficiency and total cost of ownership is desired, or something along those lines.
Yes, something that.
And, yep, okay, adding it now.
As opposed to, it's the cheapest option, like project, but it's gonna cost us how much to operate and maintain.
Yep. All right, what else you got? Good point.
Do they have drainage on site? They don't. So, sure.
They would have conceptual level project siting outfields and budgeting for appropriate infrastructure for an school project. That's not. I mean, yeah, so that's good. So their goal is that, so yes, they will have divisions 31 through 33, like all the site work and utilities and all that infrastructure is budgeted cost for a project of that type. They won't have specific details. They're not doing a site drainage, like none of that it's
not this level.
Required a description of what that system will be. We're envisioning whatever, maybe it's geothermal as an expensive potentially, but long-term efficient option. We anticipate 8 wells or 12 wells, serving whatever. That's sort of a order of magnitude. Yes. Sure. But you read these things so detailed. Sam, you have a chance to read it? I know you can.
I raised it.
Comments? Liliana, anybody online? Any thoughts, concerns, questions?
To me, with my limited knowledge,
Is
this is not the strength I bring to the group, but
you think that they would?
I'm taking it all in and trying to understand and help trying to let it make sense. And yeah, so I'm just taking it all in, and I have copies of everything. So I've been going through it and I've highlighted things that I are stand out to me. But so far I don't see anything that I have a question about right now.
Mike and Phil, I know you were somewhat involved in the last school building committee. It never really got to the point where we were soliciting architectural services. Have you guys had a chance to take a look? Do you have anything
I-
look out of the norm?
I compared it. It was fine.
Okay.
Jim, I did not have time to look at it. I'm sorry.
Lying. That's all right. You'll get to look at it. Now's your time. Start reading. Oh, yeah, that is a good question. Hold on. Let me go through my questions for you guys as I wrote this thing. Give me 1 second. Scrolling.
Because we're looking at energy efficiency.
All right.
That should.
Dates are okay. Dates are okay. You guys okay with 2 hard copies? I know we're all gonna distribute this digitally, but. Mike, is there any need for more than 2 physical copies? One for one to hold in the selectman's office for record and one for the committee?
No, I think that's fine.
Okay,
Because as long as we match up the electronic, that we don't have a different version. Because the
Yep.
electronic is what's going to go out on the solicitation, and then that will become, a record of communication essentially from the town.
there was a note that I pulled from the prior one. This mentions that a final addendum would be posted on CT Source in the town website.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the correct. I don't think that's what the state's calling the website now.
Yeah,
They've changed the name. I think it should just say on the state contracting portal,
that's
something
fine.
more
I think.
generic.
All right. And then the only question so that was a big thing I wanted to review with you guys, was the evaluation criteria. This was set up to emphasize again, qualifications-based ranking first. So we have this set up where we can evaluate based on those criteria 1 through 6 for a total of 80 points. With the fee proposal then being opened and would be accounting for an additional 20 points for a total of 100. What I'm really interested in is, does the scaling of the rankings per criteria seem aligned well with what you guys, do we like it, or do we potentially want to consider any changes? I'm asking because I took a stab at it. And
I was thinking maybe we could, for criteria 4, maybe it increase it then.
The past performance with sustainable building design and energy efficiency, increasing that from 10, what would you want the trade-off to be? And how? So this prioritizes experience with OSCGR and their understanding of our needs and experience of projects at similar scale and complexity. The other items, proximity, we want somebody that's relatively local and works in Connecticut ideally, or that has experience working in Connecticut, or at least has an office in Connecticut, just for the ability to meet those. And to meet those CGR, it's an option. We don't.
Yeah, I think it should be helpful.
Which is why it's in there, so it's worth 5 points. But it's their team structure and performance.
Maybe fee proposal. You can have the 50 to make that 50.
So you want to?
Hey, good work.
Yeah. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, everybody? Adam, considering increasing the value of sustainable building design, past performance, and decreasing the value of fee proposal in our evaluation metric to compensate.
Good work costs money.
I agree. All right, so qualifications is gonna get you 85 points. 15 points for sustainability and 15 for pricing.
For this, evaluation criteria, is there any verbiage in here that says that, we aren't, I'm trying to think how I've seen it written,
That we can.
we don't have to go with the lowest bidder,
We,
or is that what this evaluation criteria?
so yes, there is, like, it's the next sentence right below that criteria, basically. Oh, no, hold on, it's not, it's somewhere else. Yes, there is language in there saying we reserve the right, on behalf of the town to award what we feel is the best in my interest.
Sure.
Of the town. But for our purposes, so that we can understand what the respondents are, where we have this ranking criteria.
Yep.
And then if we as a committee will collectively decide what we recommend, or who we recommend. And the justification, this will really help us get to interviews and whittle down to the top respondents so that we can interview them, and then it's up to inherent on us to award based on the total picture. That makes sense? Does, all right.
Yes, it does.
The town will.
It's gonna be
Oh,
a
yeah,
in-person bid opening, or?
That is an excellent question.
yeah, because it says we'll conduct interviews, but
Mike, do you know what the opening requirements are? Meaning, is it a public opening? Are they posted on? I haven't done anything with the state.
I mean, that is a common approach. But even if we didn't do a public opening necessarily, I would do a witnessed opening. In other words, they would all stay sealed until the end of the time period that's allowed for submission. And then, like, I wouldn't take them in my office and open them. I would, like, have the town clerk stand there and we would open them and do some sort of recording of them. And, or we'd do it at a committee meeting or whatever. We would do some way. It would not just get opened like behind closed doors or something.
And ultimately, we'll be taking that submission summary. Yeah, I think I list, no more than 3 firms. Because we should be able to pick our tops.
Jim, can I chime in for a second?
Please.
What you just said about, sorry, and I'm changing the subject a little bit, but I'm going back to what Sam asked. I really don't think you have that written in here.
It's not.
It just says that we will conduct interviews with the selected shortlisted firms and incorporate this feedback to further inform its final selection. I think you should say you have the ability to just be blunt. Like, you have the ability to not select the lowest bidder, or that just because you're the highest point award the most points to get the interview doesn't mean you get the gig, if that makes sense.
yeah, said that in the other one more clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, are the people who apply, are the firms gonna be aware of what their ratings are, or like, if they're gonna be feedback as to why we chose them or not, or? You know what I mean? Is that just for us to make a decision, like?
You're right.
Yeah,
And so,
This
Yeah, so
information?
you had it like this and this one here. This is for the.
yeah, I'll pull that statement in from the OPM services. I pulled it out, I think, because we do have, up in section 5, submission instructions, there's a right of rejection and clarification. But the town of Willington reserves the right to reject any and all statements of qualifications or to request clarification. But it doesn't say anything about award, so you're right.
Evaluation.
Yeah. I will, good catch then.
No.
I don't know.
How much snow? So it's, I know it's coming out good. It's coming up 74th part.
All right. Good catch. Any further comments, or do we feel like we're comfortable in potentially moving to release this or move it to the selectmen public? for both?
Yeah, the education specs to be that, like it says that separately.
Are available for download separately through this direct link. And it links right to. Oh, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It did. All right. We will link those similar to what we did for the other one. We will post them separately, but I will check that link. That did work for me. I swear it, because I checked it. Oh, I wonder. We're gonna post it, we're gonna attach this directly,
All right,
because if we're moving documents, I don't want to screw that up.
yeah, the other thing is
Good
if
catch.
they do have an update to it, that we reference the right version.
Well, the only version that's gonna be in existence for the purposes of this is the version that's out there now. And with that said, we do say in here, clarify the enrollment projections. We do list the number in the RFP. It's in the description, project description, project students. People come up, somebody's gonna ask it. I think we need to issue the ed specs as currently approved, perhaps.
Okay, and should we have a enrollment study too?
That is,
Yeah.
that is not attached because the one in,
Is that any conflicting?
yeah, it is actually.
But then, so the last right question. Right?
Well, they're likely going to give us
If they don't have it
the
wrong,
price per square foot, right?
if they don't have any.
So they will not,
Yeah, but that's gonna.
that's not, I don't think that's gonna, that should have no bearing on their fee proposal per se. It will have a bearing on the project development, in which point we will have that.
Yeah.
To them, so I don't think it's I don't think
Necessary
it's
to test.
necessarily,
Good point.
I don't think it's a
Correct.
concern for this,
For the selecting the firm.
correct,
Yeah.
and then we will have that further guidance through discussion with whoever we get for it. All right,
Jim,
yeah,
not sure if it matters to the conversation, but the ed spec is also already out there on the contracting portal as an attachment to the
the,
the RFQP that is already posted.
yeah,
So we
So-
could, we could easily do the same thing again with this one.
yeah, we should do, I'll phrase it exactly the way we did the last one, and we'll do it identically, rather than trying to link it. Okay,
Yeah, and then we'll just add it as an attachment when we post it in the portal. Or
Perfect.
whatever way, once you settle on the wording, send to me, so we're sure we're posting the correct. And then we'll follow that instruction.
so I will make the changes we discussed tonight. I've already made most of them, but I will do a final pass. I will get this to you, Mike, if you see upon your review any conflicts with potential posting.
Okay.
Feel free to let or send those comments along. And we can do a final supplement, but I think I would like, if we're in a good spot with this, and I think it sounds like we are, I'll entertain a motion to approve and post the request for qualifications and proposals, provide architectural and engineering services for feasibility study and grant application design services of a new consolidated preschool through grade 8 school, with the corrections and adjustments discussed tonight. Do I have that motion? A second. You can move it? Yep. So moved. Do I have a second? Second. All right. Adam, Brewer made the motion. Zalona seconded. Adam Zalona seconded, sorry. Any further discussion? Making sure I look online. All right, hearing none. All those in favor, Lisa, can we do a roll call?
Yep. I scrolled this time. Mr. Bacon,
Aye.
Mr. Zelonis,
Yes.
Miss Sperry,
Yes.
Miss Grosjean. Ann?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Miss Borelli,
Yes.
Mr. Brewer,
Yes.
and Mr. Marshall.
Yes.
We passed unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Mike, I will try to get this to you tomorrow with the edits.
Very good.
Although there's a little time in between. All right. Property valuation research. Sorry, moving on. Old business item 6B, property evaluation research status update. There is no update other than I believe Jeremy has reached out to our land use agent. We're hoping for a better update next meeting, so we will table this until such time. I was going to, I think we already discussed the OPM, so I don't need to talk about that. Project considerations and, okay, so moving on, item 7, project considerations and assignment log. This is really our task list. I apologize. But I, in the interest of getting everything else all set up, did not get a chance to formally do this. You will have that, between now and your next meeting, just a running, spreadsheet essentially identifying what our concerns are. I'm gonna go to our minutes and just make sure that we are looking at what we discussed last time. We took care of the mailer tonight. SBC email, I will be looking into that tomorrow with Novus. Webpage access and document is in process. Mike is going to continue to work through the logistics of transferring data over to the town page instead of the Board of Ed page. That shared drive access for committee documents, I think is Mike. I think that ties into the Novus discussion and
Yes.
SharePoints, like it might have been. So that's still in process. Ideally, we're trying to find like a common network drive. It might be a SharePoint page that we can all have access to, but I think as far as it's all having .gov email addresses. So, or town-based email addresses, say, to your point about the .org. So more to come on that. In the interim, it'll be emails. Property search we talked about. Mike, you were gonna send correspondence on the reimbursement rate from that you had previously with Representative Nuccia.
Yes, it turns out I have a lot of emails and I'm still going from and with or including Tammy Nuccio. So a simple search didn't find exactly what I was looking for, but I am working on it. Every time I do a search, I find something else I need to respond or question. I have to ask her. So I'm close. I'm sure of it.
All right, thank you. The other thing I'll ask Mike, this is a new item, or I think it was touched on, but does the clerk's office have a member contact information list already for this committee? Has that information been shared?
I don't know if they have a contact list.
Right.
Their requirement is to maintain the membership list, and since we just were adding some new email accounts, I don't know that we even have a perfectly up-to-date contact list anywhere right now. I think it's a work in progress, right?
I
You
think it's
probably
actually
have
on the website.
the contact list.
Are you talking about the members of the committee?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about just ideally preferred so that the clerk has asked me at the other committee I'm involved in for a membership list with contact information so that in the event of any changes in membership, they knew how and who to contact, and just for our own internal ability to, again, when I was trying to get in touch with people for the storm, I had some people's information and others I didn't. So trying to say, are we scheduling a special meeting? It was, it was a challenge. So I just want the ability to understand that. Do we need to pull this together? Is that something that the selectman's office and the clerk office is just taking care of? Like,
Yeah, Jim, when we check in tomorrow, why don't we check in with Shannon on that? Because I'm not sure, if we have all the town email addresses all finalized yet. I know she was contacting people today. But
Okay.
let's close the loop on that and we'll pull it together.
All right, that's everything from last meeting. We have Bill, you're gonna follow up, try to set something up with Tammy and then evaluating or looking into the ed specs and enrollment projection alignment. Between now and the next meeting, we'll probably have lots of further discussion about, or hopefully filing data for the land use discussion. Lisa, I will forward along the comments on the mailer. That will be, hopefully out in the world this week, and mailed off in advance of our next meeting. But we'll make those changes and I will have Lisa provide a final copy to everybody. That's all I have for the time being, guys.
Link to the legislation.
And yes, I will share a link to that legislation for you. I have that on my list.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, I'll go to the committee. I meant to do it. Thank you for the reminder. Anything else?
No,
Or anybody else want to do it? Anybody want to create their own assignment? We can keep now. No, I think that's plenty. Thank you for the productive discussion again tonight, guys. I think next meeting we'll really start to delve into the project options and land use stuff. And if you have any suggestions, send them via email and we'll make sure we put them.
Can we make a note where the meetings are gonna be held, like upstairs, downstairs?
It is always upstairs. It is on the agendas.
Upper level,
Common.
but that's total. Okay.
Yeah, we will always be here because of potential conflicts down below. And honestly, hopefully these chairs will be full down the line.
Where's the thermostat?
Oh, yeah, Mike. One last
Yeah.
comment before we go here. The temperature in this room is unbearable. We have windows open, but it was 80 degrees when we walked in here. That's not gonna go well when we actually have a crowd. So,
I will,
Typical of a
I'll
very-
find out who was in there earlier today and turned it up so high.
It's typical
have
of a
them tell
very
me
old
where it is.
school.
yeah, we went looking, we couldn't figure it out.
We
So
set
just,
the one over there was set to 50. And
Yeah.
it's still 80 in here.
so we have the windows open right now because it was that bad.
No. it's-
Well, that's not an effective way to use our heating oil, is it?
I don't agree. I agree, but
But we want to get split up away from there.
yeah.
Folks,
All right, guys.
Jim,
this is one reason we need a new school. That's very typical of an old school to have very hot classrooms like that.
Fair point. Yes, Mike?
just for the good of the order, as anyone who drove there knows, the conditions this evening were declining. I do know that the road crew, was out on the roads right about the time your meeting started, so hopefully they're catching up with it. But
They're in
please
the-
just use caution going home.
They're in the parking lot right now.
All right. It's like I knew it.
There you go. All right, guys. So with that said, thank you. It's been 3 hours. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
aye.
I think we got everybody. So we're gonna call that unanimous. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Good night.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night. Be safe.
Thanks.